All right, and we're live. Everybody can see us now. I'm Jareth Garza with the Locksmith Academy and current reigning champ of the Texas Lockpicking or Locksmiths Association Lockpicking Challenge. With me, I have some guests. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. We have.
Oh, hey, that's me. That's me, Chris Huffstetter, Lockjaw Manufacturing, full-time service locksmith too, arbiter of this project and experiment. That's it.
Eric? Is Eric's microphone on?
You don't want to talk to you.
My bad.
No. And who are you, Eric?
Yeah, Eric with the Locksmith Academy. And I also have Fredericksburg Keys here in Virginia. It's my local locksmith company. And a member of the TLA.
Okay. And we have Picking Hippie with this. Do you want to tell us about yourself real quick?
Yeah. What's up, guys? Picking Hippie. I've been doing lock sport for about 8 months now and decided to jump in the deep end and toss my hat into the ring against these guys, which is probably completely insane. So that's about it.
Yeah. And who are you, Sandman?
Hey everybody, Sandman here. I'm just a lock sport enthusiast. Been a part of lock sport. I started in 2007, been a part of the community since 2010. I actually knew Jareth Garza on keypicking.com going back to like 2014, 2015, 2016 time frame. And I'm just happy to be here. Jareth kicked my butt. I mean, blasted me into outer space during the last lockpicking competition. So I've been preparing for him for 6 months. I'm looking forward to this upcoming competition. I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of the podcast.
Pleasure. I'm super excited about this year. I've been practicing too. We've added something new to the mix of it all because we thought maybe it was a little one-sided, right? You know, you're a lock picker. I was a lock picker. And we're used to using certain tools, right? Whereas locksmiths, we gravitate towards other tools. And you had mentioned that you had maybe a bias before the competition, thinking that leashy might not be, you know, something special, but by the end of the competition, your opinion changed. Am I wrong?
Oh, 100%. I was absolutely humbled. I went into there knowing how to use leashy tools and knowing how to pick locks. And my previous experience with leashy, you know, only goes back 5 years. I didn't have leashy tools when I worked for Papa Lock in 2016. I didn't have leashy tools when I was an in-shop locksmith in 2010, 2011. But I was competent going into the competition with leashy tools. But I was like, I'm going to destroy these guys. Are you kidding me? Like, these guys don't know who I am. Come on. And I went in and I was middle ground. And I absolutely loved watching Jareth perform because I was like, all right, perhaps one of the columns of locks is easier than one of the other columns of locks. Cause I started noticing some guys, you know, but it wasn't, it was perfectly fair. And I watched Jareth go to a column of 10 locks that I was only able to get through 5 of, and Jareth smashed through all 10 of them in like 8 minutes. Like, he did fantastically well. He had his earbuds in, you know, and he was super calm. My hands were shaking like a leaf on a tree, you know, in a snowstorm, dude. Like, it was bad. And so I walked away with a whole new appreciation that leashy is absolutely not only an art in and of itself, but it's a super viable tool for lock sporters and locksmiths, covert entry, polite entry for law enforcement and, you know, first responders. I absolutely love it. And I love that you guys are keeping the leashy element in the competition this year.
Well, that's a lot of what we use as locksmiths is mostly leashy, because there's a difference between lock sport and locksmith, where lock sport do for fun, locksmith do for job. So we want to be as fast and efficient as possible, whereas a lock sporter can focus on a certain technique like single pin picking, for instance. I mean, of the locksmiths here, I hardly ever single pin pick in the wild, you know, unless it's with the leashy.
If I do 3 house rekeys, 4 or 5 house rekeys a week, maybe one time out of the entire year I'll actually do a single pin pick, and that's usually just for shits and giggles. It's all about speed, It's all about, hey, I got this lined up, I got an appointment. And in reality, residential locks don't really warrant any type of single pin picking strategies because they're really, they're not great.
My locksmithing and Papa Lock days predate the leashy residential commercial craze that popped up in 2018. So I went into it not completely understanding how valuable a tool it is and how reliable of a tool it was. In my hands this time last year, I had like a 50%, probability or success rate with a leashy tool. I was either going to get it or either I wasn't. But now that success rate is above 90% because I've spent more time with the tools. I appreciate tools. I understand lock. I wasn't even using lubricants on locks regularly for the first 14 years. I didn't start using lubricants on locks for the purposes of picking, especially with leashy, until like 3 months ago this year. And so I'd done 14 years of lock picking, but now I realize, oh, wait a minute, brass locks with brass pins are not going to hold lubricant very well. New locks or old locks, exterior locks or interior locks, they all need lubrication. We're trying to create a seizing or a binding pin. And the best way to get feedback from those pins is to create some lubrication. And I had never considered that. Now my leashy skills have gone through the roof. My lock picking's gone through the roof. I even watched Chris go through in between each round and lubricate all the locks. And I was like, wow, like I was always told a decade and a half ago that this was bad. Don't lubricate locks if you're going to pick them. And I've totally like learned from watching you guys. And I've reached out to you, Chris. I've reached out to you on Instagram. Like, what are the best lubricants? What are the best solvents? All those stuff. And I've put that in my own videos and I got it all from you.
It's a touchy subject.
You're to blame.
Well, thinking about this, so last year was the last year of that specific setup being used because it was kind of grandfathered into when I really started sponsoring it, which was my first official year last year. And unfortunately to say, it wasn't very well maintained from where it was at. It's probably stuck in someone's garage, and we didn't really want to keep using it. And we noticed that the binding order was basically the same as last year prior to that, right, Jareth?
Yeah. I walked into the class and they had the monstrosity, and I have a very good memory. Last year, or 2 years ago, I won the competition, and the lock that was last to open had 2 pins in it that wouldn't move. I mean, they would move if you moved them, but the springs were compressed so that they weren't right. And so it was pins 2 and 4 because 1, 3, and 5 were the ones I had to touch. And I almost shit my pants because I was like, the lock is broke. Oh shit. And they're like, it ain't broke. I'm like, it's broke. And I was like, fuck it. It
was broke.
I was like, if it's in the field, what would I do? And I was like, skip the pins, and I skipped them and it opened. So fast forward to last year, we walked in and they had the monstrosity, and they had said that they had refurbished it. And I was like, well, we'll see about that. The first lock I picked, 2 and 4 weren't right. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. So I reset it, I jiggled it so they fell down. And then I went 1, 3, 5 and it picked right over. And a couple of people saw me and they're like, God damn it. It wasn't refurbished, because that's absolutely
no one touched it. And there's a smart key at the bottom. No one's hand picking or no one's leashy picking a smart key at the bottom. It's just, why is that even on there?
So Chris stole it away and he completely refurbished it, in the cover of the night. And that's why you saw us maintaining it, is because Chris put like 4 or 5 hours into it to rekey it and, make it basically new.
If
I had to keep Jareth out of the room and everything. It was great.
If I can, I may or may not have some viewers here from my channel who are watching right now, and they may not be familiar with you, Jareth. If I can introduce you a little bit. So Jareth Garza was known as Mr. Sour over a decade ago on Picking.com. And he was super influential and helpful in the online community there. He used Locksport to springboard into locksmithing. And since then has created your own locksmith school. And you have been competing in competitions for a while now. And you have won the leashy picking competition like 5 or 6 years in a row. But you're a phenomenal lock picker. And I think you used to send locks to Bosnian Bill as well back in the day. Is that correct?
Bosnian Bill stole my research on Sergeant Greenleaf environmental padlocks a long time ago, and it was a big fucking clusterfuck. and I don't even want to talk about it because it's a
That's
deep
okay.
well of shitty water. You know what I mean?
But
But anyway,
I just wanted to build up the understanding of who you are for the Locksport fans that don't know that you've been in Locksport for a very long time, over a decade, and now you've made it into a profession, but you still compete for fun. But you really are the Texas champion. Like, and so you've won like 5 or 6 years in a row. Like, you're a very legit lock picker.
it's 3 years or 2 years now, and I think I don't know, but let me just say, like, I try to carry the torch of the lock picker into the locksmith community, and I always have, because we learned a long time ago to use the third eye or the mind's eye to look into the lock and to figure out the problem. But whenever, like, I became very good at, going in blind, figuring out how many pins are in the lock. But then I jumped into the locksmith industry, and everybody is replacing lock-picking skills with convenient tools like the leashy. And long ago, we didn't have Schlag or Quickset leashies, residential, only auto. The moment leashy introduced residential, I was like, people are going to ask if you can put a Schlag into a Quickset or a Quickset into a Schlag. The locksmiths were like, no one's that stupid. We see it every day now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I try to tell people, like, skills are important to have. Tools can't always replace skills. And that's what I've always liked about the lockpicking community, is that they're presented a problem, often a new and unknown mystery. And I've seen people like I'm Shatten from Germany, pick BKS Janus and Asa. I saw, Locksmith Army. You remember that guy? He was busting open a whole bunch of stuff. He was in the military. He was real cool. And so I just kind of try to carry that torch forward.
Guys that don't realize this, but guys like Locksmith Army were picking Medico, multi-lock, high security
Sergeant and Greenleaf, 833 padlocks in his off time while in the military. Like, he was
on the ground, sitting on the ground, Indian style, with his child holding a camera.
Yeah. And then there's like
in his socks.
You have a Farmer Freak. You remember that guy? He's a psychopath. I sent him a Brahma, and he picked it in a week with a custom tension wrench that he machined himself. So, like, nowadays in the industry of locksmithing, we, Chris, Eric, we all see these posts. They're so lazy. What key goes to this car? You got a million keys. Did you even try to put one into the lock? No. And so, just lock pickers possess a desire to challenge themselves, whereas I don't see that a lot amongst my own peer group nowadays.
Yeah, no, I agree. If I can go off on a tangent of that, in 2014, I was getting burnt out on I was getting burnt out on online communities, but I saw the online communities slowly starting to shift. The UK lockpickers, the keypicking.com, lockpicking 101 forums were dying, and everybody was going over to Reddit. The problem with Reddit is every single day there's about 50 to 100 posts, and 90 or 80 to 90% of them are, what's the next lock pick set I should buy? What's the next lock I can pick? Here's a picture of me picking my master lock number 3. And what is this? It says medical on it. No, it's a Medico. How do you say Schleg? Things. It's just stuff that I'm tired of answering for 15 freaking years. And so I joined forces with Ryan Brown, who had a website with only 2 articles called The Art of Lockpicking in 2014. And I said, there's literally a decade of information on these online forums that everybody's ignoring it. Like, there's stickies of guys like Locksmith Army saying, hey, here's why you want to pick a Medico clockwise versus counterclockwise. This is why our ARX pins and a biaxial are going to hit shear line going counterclockwise versus you want to rotate them going clockwise or whatever.
Do you remember Zeotech?
Yes.
Zeotech would write articles on just how to manipulate, like, the rotation on a Medico pin.
They're the best.
And people don't find it anymore,
The write-ups on how to manipulate high security locks were started in these online forums and completely abandoned. So what I was going to do was I was like, hey, I'm just going to create content and interview these people that have did all this, and I'm going to try to preserve it in a way that's palatable, because nobody wants to join a forum and then look for these amazing write-ups that somebody wrote it 10 years ago. So I helped create content for Art of Lockpicking for 4 years, from 2014 to 2018. I am one of the first people to ever interview Lock Picking Lawyer before he became unaccessible. I interviewed him when he only had like a couple hundred subscribers or something like that in 2016. So I'm very fortunate I've had that opportunity. Unfortunately, that learning mindset in lock sport, it's done, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. If you want to learn how to pick a lock, you go to YouTube and you look up, you type in the lock name, and you're going to find 20 videos of the world's greatest lock pickers showing you in detail how to pick a lock, which is great. That means it's accessible. The problem is that people are forgetting how hard it was for us to get to this point. How difficult it was for guys like Locksmith Army sitting in his socks with his 2-year-old kid, you know, hanging on him while he's picking a Sergeant and Greenleaf 951, you know, armory lock with a Medico core in it, you know, just literally in his hand, just go, all right, here's my video, and only getting a couple hundred views. That was the start of high security lock picking, but now it's everywhere. But anyways, I digress. You were definitely foundational, all of that. And I really love that you and I can connect and send each other dumb memes, because it's like, man, it's like this. It's like I'm hanging out with this guy that I knew from elementary school, you know, all of a sudden. It's really cool.
I know. It is kind of weird. Like, we've grown up a little bit and changed a lot, you know, both kind of calmed down. I'm pretty sure me and you used to scream at each other in the chats like, fuck you. You know,
that's what you say. I don't remember any of it. I'm pretty sure I was just a jerk to everybody back then. So I just accept it.
That's why I know we were cross with each other at least once or twice. I'm sure of it.
I don't remember it.
So speaking in regard of like skill set, leashy, such and that, like we felt like maybe we wanted to be more inclusive and more challenging in our next approach on the competition. We were thinking about it like, okay, automotive guys are going to definitely have the advantage on leashy.
Well, just a reference. Keep in mind that me and you have been talking about this competition before we even basically left the last one. So we've been planning, like, when people think, oh, we threw together a competition, like we sent a lot of ideas back and forth. Like it was like, well, the competition's in a year, it's no big deal. We were really just focused on how can we make this more available to just not just the people who do leashy, because like you guys just ran into, lock pickers aren't using leashes on a daily basis. The professionals are using them as a tool or an instrument, so we kind of had to really find a way to bring it all together underneath one umbrella, you know.
I love it. I love it. I love two parts, if I may say, and I'll let, you know, Lock Picking Hippie and Keys give their opinions. I'm sorry I'm taking up all the airways, but I love that, one, you're leaving it open to civilians like myself. I really appreciate that. And I've got a team of lock pickers that are looking forward to competing. Most of them are all security professionals in some form or fashion in some industry, whether it be cybersecurity or counter intel and stuff like that. And so I'm looking for it. But we also have a guy that's just a plumber, and he's a fantastic lock picker. The guy walks through Schlage Primus locks. I mean, the guy's amazing. Walks through multi-lock. So I really appreciate you guys opening this up to civilians, and that's what I love the most. And it's going to open doors for people to see locksmithing and all of its amazing opportunities, not just being a locksmith in shop or out of the shop, but working in distribution. You get to meet the distributors. Working for manufacturers, I get to meet representatives from Multi-Lock, like they're legit from Israel. You know, like I love meeting the pack lock people that came all the way from Pacific California just to put on, you know, a class on how to disassemble one of their locks. It's so cool meeting with those people. I appreciate that. But the last thing that I really love that what you guys have organized is that you hit all of the boxes. You hit lock picking, automotive, and get in however you can, as long as it's non-destructive entry. And I think that's such an amazing concept. I haven't seen that anywhere yet. I think it's really going to be a big hit. I was super intimidated when Jareth brought out this monstrosity rig of all automotive locks. And he's like, hey, man, he's like, you did good in the leasing. He's like, you want to do this? I'm like, no way, bro. I'm leaving. I was like, oh, get out. But I absolutely love that it pushes me out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to a competition to pick master number 3s. I'm literally going to be around security professionals who are like, no, there's a little bit more to this than just sitting on your couch, you know, and watching The Boys and picking some Brinks locks, you know. So I love that you guys are making it more complicated and professional.
Let me say something. I take it personally whenever people compare me to YouTubers and I'm working, right? And so they'll say, I've seen Lock Picking Lawyer, Bosnian Bill, and I'm like, you know, you're going to get the smoke from me, you know, what's up, you know? And so it pisses me off because, you know, I've been making videos on YouTube forever. You know the process is where we can create lab conditions. We film 100 different videos. We cherry pick and we upload and talk about it. Oh yeah, it was nothing, blah blah blah. But you know, this is all about, like, I want to find the best and bring the best and give the best. So we're doing Leashy with auto. Whoever's the best is going to be the best, but they can't be champion because there's 2 other courses. Open domestic. I think there's going to be an old locksmith that's going to smoke everybody. He ain't got time for nothing. He's going to zip locks open and be like, "Fuck y'all, I'm out. Bye."
He can show up with a snake break and a tensioner and then fucking whip everyone.
And I think a lock picker is going to take the padlock section with the hand tools only. So it's like, I don't want to win. I want to see people win. I want to be challenged and get me out of the comfort zone. You guys have expertise that we don't have, and vice versa. So let's kind of pool it all together and see what the hell happens.
I've been putting on mini competitions every month with my group, and I've been going to all the other groups in Texas. Texas has 5 different lock sport groups, one of them going back to 2007, which is the second oldest lock sport group in all of North America. And I've been going to these groups since 2013, but recently I've gone to like 20 different meetups just in the last 12 months. And I don't even know, like, between the 5 groups, I think it's about 20 different meetups at least. And I have literally seen people open locks in ways with lock picks that I never considered. And I call it the McNally technique. I've met McNally. McNally is a legitimate lock sporter, legitimate lock picker. I realize that he has really fun, you know, awesome edited videos because he's really great at producing content. But the guy is a monster lock picker. I've seen his personal lock collection. He has over 2,500 locks in his collection. He creates his own cutaways with his own milling machine. The guy's obsessed. And he has this technique that he's developed where he dives into a lock, reels back and zips out, and then can single pin pick the rest. We've seen it done by Bosny and Bill for over 10 years called hybrid picking, but he has developed tools. McNally has developed tools specifically to accentuate this particular technique of lock picking. And I have gone to lock sport groups and I've seen lock pickers that are like 20, 22, 23 years old use his techniques, not having the polished like skills that I do, but just diving into a lock and literally ripping through 10 locks inside of like 2 minutes. Like it's crazy seeing what these people are doing.
Let me be honest with you. I was telling my compatriot here, Chris, you know, in regards to the competition, I was like, I'm going to do this technique with a Bogota, you know, a triple peak rake, right? I was like, I'm going to put it in the lock. I'm going to barely lift it and I'm going to fucking rip it out. I was like, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to find the next binding pin and pick it over. And so, you know, you're over here talking about this shit.
You were just telling me about that too.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, like, there you are describing my secret plan, and it hurts.
These kids are crazy, man. They're bringing some really new stuff to the table, so it's very unique. But these kids also have access to Leashy. You know, they have access to all the bypass stuff. I got a guy in San Antonio who runs the San Antonio group, and he's former counter intel for the Army, and now he works in some type of intelligence cybersecurity aspect as a professional. And the guy knows every bypass of every lock in the world. He's fantastic. I don't do bypasses, so I'm really fortunate he's going to be going and representing our team. But it's just the knowledge that and I'm like 15, almost 20 years older than this guy. So the knowledge that these kids have to hold in their head, you know, I'm still holding the blood code to freaking Mortal Kombat from Sega from 1992. Okay, so ACABB. Okay, that's what's in my head is the blood code for Mortal Kombat. This guy has all of the stupid the other stuff, and so I think we're going to be very surprised as lock sporters and locksmiths what this next generation is going to bring out. You know, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, speaking on that,
yeah, go for it.
I was going to say I want to hear from our newest addition here, someone who's only been really at it for less than a year. What are you seeing so far? We have guys here that are doing this for decades now, and I've seen some of your videos, man. Like you really burn through some of those locks there, dude. It's like what are you seeing? Like, is it like a more hybrid style? Like what are you doing differently than the old guys now?
Honestly, I have no idea. No, what I'm trying to do most is exactly what you guys are describing. You go in with a hybrid style first in order to try to get as many binders as you can, and then I just go in and then I single pin pick following it up. Like you were like Samuel was talking about how you guys are kind of incorporating so many different variants for everybody to be involved now. Like I've got a thing of padlocks sitting in front of me right now. So in order to go and practice, I'm grabbing 5 padlocks that vary from white all the way up to blue, because I don't know the 5 levels of difficulty. I just know that the website told me, hey, this is what we're looking at. And that's how I'm practicing. I go to a locksmith that's here in town, and I borrow some leashes, and I practice whenever they let me use their leashes. And I've got a couple of residential stuff here in order to start practicing too. But yeah, honestly, that's probably the most intimidating part for me, is the fact that I'm going up against guys that have light years of experience past what I have. But with that, watching Sandman, watching Jareth, watching all of these guys on YouTube and the progression and all that stuff, that's part of the reason why I'm going out and getting like my locksmith certification. It's not even required in the state that I'm in, but I'm still going to do it. It's one of those ones where it's like you want to do right, not only by lock sport, but you also want to do right by like the locksmith community. So
I can say there's definitely not a good. Obviously, Jareth has his automotive stuff, but there's really not a whole lot of genuine programs that will teach you the basics of this industry without having to go to a convention or spend a week taking a basics class. And it's always, I've been in business for over 10 years, and it's still, I still have so much to learn and so much to like stuff I don't even do just because I'm not even, equivalently, geared for it or just, want to do it. But yeah, it's the more you can prepare yourself on an education and experience basis, the much better off you'll be. Way, way, way more experience always helps.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the reason why I'm jumping into the deep end with all of you guys is the opportunity opened up. It happened to work out perfect with my schedule, and I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm driving down there. I'm going to figure out lodging. I'm going to figure out all this stuff. Luckily, I've got amazing support, and yeah, that's basically how this is all working out.
If I can put in a plug for the competition that Lockjaw and Jareth and all you awesome guys have put together, if I can put in a plug for it, for going back almost 20 years, there has been a lockpicking village at DEF CON, at least probably since at least DEF CON 2 or DEF CON 3. There's been some form of lockpicking aspect to, whatever. They used to have the Gringo Challenge or Gringo Warrior. I've never been to DEF CON myself, but I'm a fan of everything that they do. I've collected all of the videos that they put, all the conference talks and everything, so I follow along from home. And they used to do things where you had to escape from a mock prison cell, and you had to take out a guard, and you had to escape from handcuffs and pick through a door, get into a safe to get a code to all this other stuff. But they started actually having legitimate lock picking competitions sometime around the mid 2000s to the early teens. However, the competitions, though they were super legit, and because that whole DEF CON would attract tens of thousands of people, and therefore lots of lock pickers, and it was very hard to manage. But they would come out with some of the, they would expose some of the world's, top, single pin pickers or rakers, lock pickers. Those lock pickers. What's that?
Farmer Freak won it a couple of times.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, out of Utah. So
Jake,
just for what that's worth.
Jonathan Gordon, who started the Longhorn Lock Pickers here in Austin in 2007, he won it a couple times. And when you win at DEF CON, you would get an invitation to go compete at LockCon, which is in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, where the tool, the open organization of lock pickers, but for Netherlands, which is the origins of North American lock sport, you'd get a ticket basically to go there and compete for free. However, or an invitation to go compete. However, since COVID, a lot of the international lock picking and lock sport competitions have completely ceased. They completely died, and it's non-existent. The fact that you guys are creating this and you're doing it here in Texas, and the fact that I have 2 people on my team that just went to DEF CON this August, and they went through the Red Team Tools like competition that required you to be able to pick locks skilled levels 1 through 12 to get into a server room to do a bunch of stuff, and it was all based off of time. These guys took first and second place in timing, but there was no competition. You guys are giving them a place to compete. You're giving them a home to call this. This isn't just the Texas Locksmith Association Convention lockpicking contest. To me, this is the national, forefront of lock sport competition and locksmithing, lockpicking competition. There's nothing else right now in the last 4 years that even comes close to the competitiveness that you guys are creating this year. So the simple fact that I'm bringing 2 people that took first and second place at DEF CON this year, we're bringing Jareth Garza, who's been the reigning champion for the last 2 or 3 years. We're bringing all these amazing locksmiths who travel from all around America just to come to this convention, because this is one of the larger locksmith conventions in North America. I'm excited, and I really appreciate you guys doing that. I mean, we could make this thing the lockpicking competition nationally and make it an international deal. That's what I love about it.
I think it has potential, and so does Chris, which brings me to the next point of we should probably discuss just exactly what the hell it is we're holding. So fire it off, Chris.
Let's talk about who, what, where, when, why, everything. We're looking at Pflugerville, Austin. If you're not familiar with it, that is nestled right there in the capital of the lovely Lone Star State, Texas. We'll be there on September 21st. The convention doors open at 10 a.m. The competition should be starting right around 11. We're aiming for about 2 hours. That's kind of the goal right now, but it also depends how many people are registered and how quickly we can get through everyone. The TLA will be celebrating their Texas Locksmith Association. Will be celebrating their 60th anniversary. And fun fact, the very first Texas Locksmith Association convention was 1964. Yeah. And their first convention had a lockpicking contest. And it was won by, I don't remember his name. So we're going full circle here. 6 years later, we have another awesome contest, be the Big 6-0. So it's really important to know that there's a history here. Apparently, it wasn't just something we just came up with. There's apparently a long history with Texas and doing their thing with Locksport. Prizes. Let's talk a little bit about what you can expect to get. So we got a door prize for every single person that signs up. It'll be a mystery item. Don't want to give out too much, but it is going to be fucking awesome. Grand prize winner, $1,000. I'm not sure if that's going to be in a cold hard cash or a Venmo situation, but the winner will be taking home $1,000 one way or another.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of change. That's a lot of lockpicks you can buy. That's a lot of Houdini spray. There's also a. Well, do we want to spill the beans on that, Jareth? Or do you want to wait?
So, in regards to the Spirit of Locksport, apparently we've stirred some interest amongst some of the distributors that we deal with and manufacturers, and I've been led to believe, rumor has it, that there's going to be a prototype introduced, and it's going to be a challenge where you're going to be allotted a certain amount of time, and whomever can pick open the lock surreptitiously, without detectable damage, and it still functions with the key afterwards. If you do so, you get a $500 reward. And if you don't, if none of us do, the manufacturer is going to call the lock pick resistant as kind of a, salt to the injury.
So you guys will be responsible for the field test for this one specific company that happens to produce a lot of I'm sorry, did I say pack locks? No, padlocks. That's what I was looking for.
They produce packs of locks.
Yeah.
Lots of packs of locks.
Yes.
From the
There will
Pacific.
be again, this is all hearsay, very strong hearsay, but still hearsay. So we are hoping and waiting to see what that's going to be, because that'll be really cool. It's broken up into 3 sections. For those of us that are just tuning in, or I've been living underneath a rock for a while and don't follow all of our shit posting all week about lock sport, it's going to be broken up into 3 sections. We have the first section, which will be high security padlocks. These will be locks of varying difficulties, obviously. We're definitely not going to be throwing anything crazy like, hey, here's 5 black belt locks. Go fuck yourself. No, we're not doing anything like that. It'll be varying difficulties. We want people to get through this stuff. Because if everyone gets 0 or if everyone gets 1, it's no fun. Secondly, we're going to have the automotive section, which is being officially sponsored by Lishi Tools. And that's for those of us that are locksmiths, we know that Mr. Lee is he is kind of a hermit when it comes to publicity, to sponsorship, to a lot of things. Because A, he's on a whole different continent. But B, he's also very protective of his IP. And there's been a couple little handfuls of competitions, certain conventions that he may or may not have been involved in. We're not entirely sure. Some people claim to be the best in the West. Some people, oh yeah, there it is, perfect. So we have a whole rule sheet. We'll be going over that here soon. As you see our sponsor list down there, we have some folks that we're kind of last minute, but we definitely are very, very, very happy to have them. Between Packlock and I guess Sparrows, is my understanding. Sparrows and Southern will also be thrown in on this for the prizes too. We're not exactly sure what that's going to be just yet. They're working with the TLA with that, but we will have some more information as we get closer, hopefully.
That's awesome.
It's going to be pretty cool. The third section is going to be my personal favorite, and I'm sure Jareth's personal favorite too. The open domestic. This is the barn blazing, beat them down. Son of a gun.
As fast as you can get it.
As fast as you can get it. And this isn't going on the rule sheet, but I'm gonna tell you all right now. If you break a pick in your lock, you better pull it out because we're not pausing shit. So if you break off a pick in there, if you break off a bump key, you are on the hook for it. So get it out. Open domestic is going to be any tools that are not damaging. We shouldn't have any bypass tools needed or used in this part of the competition, but you want to make sure that you have a good range of tools. If you're a locksmith, you kind of know what that is. If you're a lock sport guy, just sharpen your picks, okay?
Do not bring comb picks. Do not bring comb
do
picks.
not bring comb picks.
We will stack the chambers so that it won't work. So we're smarter than that. Do not bring comb picks.
Challenge accepted. I'm bringing all my comb picks.
Yeah,
That's what I was just getting ready to say too, Sandman.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah, you're gonna look real dumb when your comb pick gets stuck and
We're gonna stack the drivers so it won't work. And
now,
you're
I
gonna
have
lose.
a question for first and second round. Are they all pin tumblers? Are there any dimple locks? Are there any disc detainer locks, wafer locks, electronic magnetic locks, or any combination locks?
So
I'll cover my ears, Chris. I'm just kidding.
well, I'll tell you guys what I know. Packlock is sponsoring this portion of the contest. These will all be kick cylinder styles. So there shouldn't be any disc detainers. Again, I'm speaking from my expectations, not from my knowledge. I would expect
key and knob.
Yeah, key and knob, kick cylinders, KIKs. The only tools permitted in the in the padlock section will be tension wrenches and hand picking. And if you can hand pick a disc detainer lock in public with 1,000 people standing around you, then kudos to you. My expectation is that, and I haven't got the confirmation on which locks it will be entirely, so I'm kind of going in blind with you guys too. There should not be anything except for pin tumbler padlocks.
Now, I have a question. Since you're going into it blind and they're providing the Kick 1A, probably the Kick 1A padlock body, which is similar to what Tool sells on their website, and I have several in my collection. So they're installing key and knob cylinders. So they're going to be residential type key and knob cylinders most likely, and they could go all the way up to Medico or multi-lock even. But who's the person then keying up those cylinders and deciding what level of difficulty of locks that they're going to be installing then, if it's not you, Chris?
That should be the TLA and the leadership at Packlock.
Okay. So it could, okay. So, interesting. So it's nobody connected to Locksport whatsoever. and it's nobody connected to the contest whatsoever. It's somebody that's just going to that's a locksmith who's going to key up the cylinders.
So let me jump in. That is kind of true. We do have say, and we said, like, don't throw anything crazy, because we only had Quickset and Schleg, and half of the people didn't even finish.
Yeah.
So, if you're going to throw, black belt stuff at people, no one's going to finish,
Yeah.
especially under pressure and time. So I think to be expected is just your typical, to be encountered kind of stuff. Like, you're dead on, by the way, with
Surprise,
what they offer
it's
in the
5
catalogs.
Applet Protex. Get used to it.
Yeah, it's fucking magnetic locks. So no, it's going to be something that you'll be able to hook and rake. You won't need fancy stuff.
I'm sure it'll be great. I just want to know who I can yell at if I find that I suck worse than I go in intending to suck. So I just want to know who I can blame for my problems, but it's my problems at the end. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Know this. I will be there days and days before the competition. If for any reason they say, "Hey, here's our selection. We want to do these." If for any reason anything is unreasonable, and it sucks because I want to bounce ideas off of Jareth for certain parts of this, but obviously I can't let him know anything about styles of locks, keyways, anything like that. I can't let anyone know. But if for any reason I find that there's an issue with this part of it, I don't want this in. We will make sure it is reasonable and feasible for anyone that shows up that has the skill set to accomplish it. We want this to be a skill-based experiment and not just be, hey, who can pick the best, freaking orange, blue, gray, gray, well, there's no gray belt, black belt locks. In 5 minutes is not a long time. 5 minutes is not, you got a minute a lock.
Yeah.
You gotta be reasonable about that.
No, I really like what you guys are doing. I think it's going to be an amazing competition. I like how you're going about it. I like that you guys put into thought that even when you have Quickset and Schleg, only 50% of the people that compete struggle, and the other 50%, can smash through. And that's the hardest part about making a challenge lock in lock sport for the community is not making a hard lock. Anybody can make a hard lock. Anybody can make a black belt level lock when you do over milling, counter boring, and adding security pins, security driver pins, security key pins, and then adding different spring tension and all that other stuff. What's difficult is making a lock that's fun and yet challenging for that particular level of lock picker. So in this instance, we're having people that are beginner, intermediate level of lock pickers, maybe even advanced, but finding something that's middle ground for all of them to enjoy and yet still be doable. I love that you guys are doing it. I think you guys are going to smash it out of the park.
I don't care how advanced of a lock picker you are. Whenever you're standing around a whole bunch of people yelling at you and under pressure, shit's different.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
When I first became a locksmith, I used to get anxiety when people would watch me pick locks. I'm like, am I supposed to allow them to view me, even though I've been putting videos on YouTube for 10 years now? It's like, it was weird, but yeah, it's a whole different kind of pressure.
Yep. Yeah, it's one thing to pick a lock right out of the package for a YouTube video. I got 20 minutes. I could fail. I can put a funny title and be like, oh, whooped. I got beat. But when you have literally, couple hundred people gathering around watching you, you can literally smell the pizza they're eating. You can hear them.
You can hear them talking shit about you, like he ain't gonna win, and you're like, fuck you.
They may not even be talking about you. They may be talking about the guy next to you. But it's definitely. And also, you guys made the monstrosity last year. It's not. We're not just sitting at our desk with our elbows comfortable and we're concentrating. We're working in a position that is common for a locksmith and then uncommon for a locksmith. We're going high and we're going low.
You want to hear about a situation?
I didn't know that they. Go ahead.
Oh, I would say a situation of pressure and shit. Last year, I was teaching classes, I think 3 days, and then we had the convention, and basically every bean that could spill, fucking fell to the floor, and then we had the competition, and even after the competition, there was a chaos over the monstrosity, which is why Chris has produced his own this year.
We still have to give it a good name, and I don't know if the twin tumbler towers of terror isn't a bode well. So I have to figure out some better naming here.
Yeah, we thought about Tower of Power, but it sounded a little white supremacist, and we were like,
Yeah. If you call it the Twin Towers anything, and somebody knocks it over, it's not a good old.
oh,
Oh, speaking of international thing, we're still playing with the idea of calling a local scam locksmith service and see if we get someone to show up and see if we can get them to indirectly just join the competition.
Oh man!
I got these house locks. I need to get them unlocked. What's your name? Okay, cool. Come over here. Yeah. $19 you said on the phone. Come on, check it out, and just see if we can draw them into it.
Call them and say I've got 10 locks or 5 locks that I need to get into. Let me know if you can come out.
I got 5 minutes to get them open, buddy. I got 5 minutes.
Let them walk right into a lock picking competition. Oh man!
Yep.
Oh
yeah.
man!
I'm thinking about doing it. Might be the best $20 I ever spend.
Golly.
so we mentioned the $1,000 prize. We got the ticker tape on the bottom, trying to get people to see that. We have 3 competitions. We have padlock, which is hand tools only, tension wrenches and lock picks. That can be rakes, hooks, whatever. No guns, no bumps, nothing like that. No combs. And I swear to God, I'm fighting the dude who brings me comb picks. Okay. We also have open domestic, which is things that a locksmith or a person encounters. Every time you walk through a door at a business, start looking at them. Is it a Yale, Weiser, Schlage keyway? What is it? That's the kind of stuff that you're going to see in open domestic. That's bump keys, electric pick guns, rakes, whatever. Nothing destructive. No drills, no hammers, no chisels. Yep. And automotive is leashy only. So that is going to be, go for it.
You want us to go through the rules one at a time? We'll read them real quick.
I have a quick question.
I just wanted to say, we got the $1,000, the 3 competitions, and we also have the championship belt. So
yes, the belt.
Yeah.
I should have brought the belt. Where's my belt? Oh well. Maybe I'll get it. We have a new belt. Yes.
For the first round where we're doing the hand picking, is it acceptable if somebody were to bring a table vise to mount it? Some people have different size hands. Some people have hand disabilities.
Well, that's actually a really good question.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what there it is. There's Old Glory. I don't know what the exact setup they're going to be working with. I recommended a very specific setup for eye bolts or some way to hang the padlocks. If you want to bring a vise, I don't think it'd be a bad idea, just in case.
Sure.
I feel like if it's a padlock portion, the padlock does what in your mind? It swings, right? So I almost want to say like it should be a per case situation. If they're missing a hand, maybe, I don't know, but
I'm gonna be honest. For some reason, all the padlocks in my neighborhood are all on like butcher block desks with Panavice. They're all in Panavice 350s, and I don't know who's doing that, but that's like everywhere in my neighborhood I go. I'm like, hey, look, there's a padlock on a Panavice 350. That's just common in my demographic, and I'm just saying, it'd be fair.
I get it. Define a padlock, right? That's almost as hard as defining a locksmith. Okay, so I guess we'll have some levity with that, with the rule, with that. Because a puck lock is a padlock, right?
Sure. I agree. If the intention is to put the padlocks for round 1 on eye bolts or to mount them to something, great. If they want us all to pick them in hand, I'm not going to fight that. But if it's just like, hey, here's 5 padlocks, here's a table, go pick them. If I'm allowed to bring my table vise, I'm going to bring it. If they'll let me use it, I'll use it. If not, then I won't. But I'm gonna work in my favor as best I can.
That's a good point. It's a good question. They will not be loose. I know that for sure. They shouldn't just be like, hey, put out your hands. Here's 5 locks. Go away. They all should be affixed to something.
Okay.
Nola's got a tight ass logo. That's cool. Yeah, good question. Way to interrupt our train of thought, Sandman. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. We honestly don't even know what we're going to be confronted with in regards to the padlock competition stand, because that one has been completely out of our hands. We've had input And
I trust Packlock. They're, you know, obviously a very large organization. I do trust that they can produce something of quality and within reason, and they definitely kind of know what our expectations are. But like I said, I'll be there prior, and so will Jareth, so we at least get to kind of see what we're working with. If for any reason it doesn't meet our expectations, we have the entire city of Austin to make it work for us. It's not. I wouldn't stress it.
If for some reason Packlock were not to be able to meet your expectations, do you think you guys would be able to find a locksmith to help you rekey or do, you know, find locks? Or
I think
yeah,
we might,
I mean, that's exactly where I was going to go next. Is like, I'm pretty sure we'll have plenty of locksmiths to dip our, you know, our ink wells, you know, from. So
yeah, that's happened
I mean,
last year. I don't have any tools when I fly in last year. And shout out to Bill Sharp. He's my homie. What's up, Bill? He had his van there. I said, dude, I gotta rekey all these locks for this competition. He's like, here, just grab my pinning kit. Let me know what you need. Super cool guy, and it was really nice just to be able to be out of my own element, but still be like, oh, I know this kid. I know this. That's fine. That's just, it's the same tools. It's fine. But yeah, it's gonna be good.
okay. So beyond that scope of what we just talked about, I think, you know, that'll be case by case. Next time, I think the padlock section should have a diverse array, like maybe a puck lock. That way they can hold it. It's mounted. And then we can have one swinging from an eyeball, stuff like that. But we got the championship belt and we have the rules. And we need to go over the rules because we're going to have questions. And we need to answer these questions. So if we can pull that up real quick.
Gotcha.
Because this is like, you know, we're like you said earlier, Sandman, we're bridging the gap of locksmith and lock sport. We're trying to bring them together. We are from two different universes and we're going to cross paths. We need to define the lines. And so this is what we've got so far. Chris, what do you have?
So we have 14 rules in total. Let me write that down. Yeah, we got 14 rules in total. I'm going to go through each one. And we can answer any questions for each one of these rule segments. So, boys and girls out there in TV land, YouTube land, if you have a question, we will definitely answer it between each one of these so you guys understand. And everyone understands we're not getting back to the first rule after 20 minutes of talking about them for a while. So, that being said, number one, this is a bring your own tools event. The exception is automotive leashy. Participants are responsible for the storage and handling of their own tools. What specifically we mean is if you set your tools down and they wander away, we're sorry. If you break one, we're sorry. If you forgot something, we're sorry. It may be a good idea for any of you Locksport guys to maybe produce a video on how to properly store and transport any lock picks, because TSA is not nice with pointy objects. Some states don't give a shit. I've seen some municipalities be like, oh yeah, it's fine, just keep them in your pocket. And I've seen some states say like, hey, you can't bring it in your checked baggage, it has to be in your purse. So it all depends. So make sure you know the TSA rules for carrying and moving lock picks.
I have flown with lock picks on my carry-on, and you just have to prove you're a locksmith. But a lot of people aren't locksmiths. And you got to be careful because sometimes it's illegal for non-locksmiths to have tools in certain states. So just make sure, you know, that you're aware of that if that pertains to you.
It might be a good idea to print out a picture of Jareth Garza's face and put it in your luggage and be like, hey, this is what it's about, homie. And then put the lock picks in there. So that way there's no question. So
yeah, no, you don't want me. But next rule, also, that this rule is important. You may think like, oh, storage and safe handling. We had a guy last year attend one of my classes, and he brought an entire suitcase of brand new leashies that he ordered, like the Grand Master kit. It was like $3,700, and one of my other students was a prankster and ran off with it, and it was fuckery. So in an instant, if the guy wasn't just a joker and he's actually a criminal, which there are criminals in our field, any field, you know, he would have lost $3,700. Nice kid, new to the industry, and made an assumption, left his tools in my classroom during lunch. So just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're in security, you know,
Sticky fingers aren't unique to certain parts of the world.
yeah, they're not uncommon.
Mm-mm. Number 2, all tools must be non-destructive and surreptitious in nature. And everyone in this chat knows what that means, but I want to make sure that we're clear about that. Surreptitious in nature. Do any of you guys want to explain exactly what that means?
Basically, you imagine a CIA agent breaking into a house and planting a bug, but leaving no trace. That way the operation works. It's undetectable. It doesn't leave a trace or a symptom of being picked, meaning that the key's still going to work and they're not going to notice a thing. So that means no drills. That
No
means
drills.
no hammers and chisels, no crazy destructive, means. We're doing surreptitious only. You're better than that. So that's what we're aiming for. We want to show excellence through knowledge, and we need to know what we're doing. We're going to bring the tools, and it's, if you're drilling the lock, it won. Period.
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense.
So I gotta leave my East Wing at home.
Yeah, no grinders, no bolt cutters, none of that. No hacksaws. All of that's destructive.
If we know you did it, then you weren't good. Number 3, padlock tools are limited to tension wrenches and hand picking only. If you want to use top of keyway, you want to use bottom of keyway, you want to use tension knobs or tension, what the fuck are they called? The dial ones.
Oh yeah, those little things I bought.
Yeah, which I have multiples. I never really liked them. But yeah, it is going to be tension tools and hand picking only. Get your favorite picks. No combs, no bump keys. This is padlock only. No bump keys. Only using hand picking only. If you want to rake all day, go for it. You want a single pin? You want a static? No one gives a shit. Hand picking only.
Here's what he's talking about in regards to somebody make me whole screen real quick. Here,
Yeah, what are those called? I forget what they're called. I know Sparrow sells one, Multipix sells one, HBC sells one.
They're just tension wrenches, and they allow you, they allow you to measure the amount of force
Yeah.
that you're committing. Yeah, it's totally useless. And these are they're super old, and they're for posterity's sakes. And they look like, to me, like they came out of an old,
Jareth.
Came out of an old car.
Jareth, sell me one of those. I want one of those.
They're a set, bro.
If someone told you, all
Can't break up the set, man.
Tension, it doesn't make any sense. The tensioning meter is dumb. Every block is different, and every.
Are you supposed to pick through the center of it?
Yeah, there's a hole here. I'll make myself full screen again. Hold on a second. There's a hole. Come on now. There's a hole in it. And so the pick, you're gonna be in the lock, right? And you're gonna apply the tension, and you're gonna be scrubbing it or single pin picking. It's very obstructive though. Look how thick it is.
Yeah.
This one's got a.
It looks like it'd be really fucking weird to.
Well, let me show you.
Hard to get up to the face of the lock.
Yeah, no, not just that. I was gonna point out this one right here, the blue one, is kind of flat and flush to the back, but this one over here has this huge milled out portion. And obviously it's if you're going to even use these, you're going to be like, which one even fucking fits, man?
No doubt.
And I hate it whenever I'm picking a lock and the tension wrench flies out. And so I can only imagine that this bitch will just snap out and really piss me off. Ooh, it'll probably scare you like a mousetrap. So.
Or the little prongs will break, and obviously it's a very specific tool. You can't replace anything on it.
It's a very roll pin diameter that will never be found after that.
It's good idea, bad product. Maybe I should make a new one.
They're fun.
Number 4, all locks will be pre-lubricated. That means you cannot bring your favorite lubricant and spray it in these locks and be like, no, guys, it's cool. I got this homebrew stuff I've been making from goose oil. It's fine. No, you can't just do anything crazy like that. All the locks will be pre-lubricated. Also, all these locks will be new. So I'm not getting some junkyard bone scrap locks and repurposing them. I'm using brand new hardware for everything.
What type of lubricant are you using on these locks?
Well, considering that they shouldn't need to be cleaned, so I'll be using nothing that has a solvent in it. I personally will probably end up be using a Houdini spray.
Okay, good. That's cool.
Don't start with us, Sandman. The debate has been raging
It's
since
cool,
we were
man.
lock
I
pickers.
was going green one.
I noticed at the Leashy competition we were using 3-in-1 oil, but that was at the bottom of the QA to allow the Leashy to go in. I don't know if we were using that for all the pins and stuff. And
I complained so hard when I saw the 3-in-1 oil go in the locks. I was like, who? Why?
That's
What?
all we had. I mean, this maybe it's a Texas thing. I don't know, but
Oh
up
my
here in
God.
the north, this is Houdini. This is Houdini country. We don't play that game.
this Houdini country.
That's what I used to be honest.
Got that Houdini.
Yes.
Make,
All right,
make
next
box, okay, so this is important. So this we kind of started getting into the realm of how you win. Okay, number 5. There may only be one winner per round. Okay, in the event of a tie, and there probably will be, a sudden death tiebreaker will occur. Jareth, give me an example of what that means.
Each round, there's going to be 5 people versing each other, and you're racing to pick 5 locks open, but you have a certain amount of time. And what we saw last year is that some people will finish with 3 locks each. Well, how do we determine the winner if they all only picked 3 locks? We hold a sudden death. We're the first to pick open the next presented challenge lock wins and progresses to the next round. The others are eliminated and lose. It's that simple.
If you guys want or need to, I have Rubik's Cube speed timers. So you put your hand on the timer for it to start, or excuse me, you put your hand on the timer, and then as soon as you let go of the timer, the time starts, you can pick the lock, and then you touch the timer again, and it pauses the time down to fractions of a second. I have 6 of them. If you guys want me to bring those, should that happen? If not, it's no big deal. We could possibly go off of the DEF CON rules, where if there's 3 of us picking against each other for time, when you pick the lock open, you yell the word open, and you can take the time off of who says open first.
That's more of what we were getting to the gist of, is that we are more of an elimination, based sudden death. It's not, oh, whoever picks it open the quickest, we're going to let them all take separate turns. No. You're all, it's another round right now, do or die.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be like, there's 5 that you each get, and we can roll a dice to pick which one it is.
We'll have some
Everybody's
random
gonna
number
pick
generator.
Everybody's going to pick 2. You know what I mean? Whomever opens the lock first progresses.
Gotcha.
And the others do not.
Gotcha.
Because, it's money's on the line and pride. And so things will probably get contentious. So
we tried the speed model just to see, like, well, whoever picks overall time the fastest, but then you got to remember,
I didn't mean one at a time. I have 6 timers, so 6 people can start at the same time.
Keep in mind, there's a whole sect of this. There's a whole sect of this that's going to be based on speed. The open domestic challenge is extremely speed based. So you're going to have the padlock competition. Some people may only get 2 locks, but then the speed portion, the last portion, people may run through that entire run in like 30 seconds. So it's gonna be really hard to say, well, I got 4.5 minutes on the padlock, but I got 30 seconds on the domestic open. So we were like, well, it's really opposites. It's very polar opposite with these 2 styles of events. So calculating speed and like adding up or anything like that, I was like, you know what? So that's we kind of decided to go back to the tournament style.
Okay.
And it's more fun. It's more aggressive, whenever the winner stops the round. You know what I mean? Like, everybody stop. I fucking won, It's more fun.
Chris, you just said tournament style, right? So I guess my question is going to be then, so say we have 15 people that entered into the competition, right? So there's only 5 people competing at one given time for the padlock section, and simultaneously the second stage, which is automotive, is supposed to be going at the same time.
Correct.
So if you've got 5 people, or you got 15 people competing, so the winner from the first 5 the winner from the second 5, and the winner from the third 5 are then going to head off against each other again on that tower for padlocks to see who the number 1 is?
Kind of, not really, but it might make more sense with the next rule here.
Okay.
So the rounds will be terminated once all 5 of the locks are picked by a single participant or after 5 minutes. So if, let's say Sandman's on padlocks and him and Jareth and 3 other people are going, and let's say Sandman just smokes all of them in 30 seconds, the round's done. We don't care what happens after that. The timer stops. He is declared the winner. He is now that heat is done.
And that's
So
doable. You can do that with any. You could pick 5 locks and make it pickable like that. So that makes sense. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. We want everyone to enjoy themselves, but ultimately, there's only 1 winner per round. So why continue? At that point, it's just going to be.
I think what Lock Picking Hippie was meaning is like there's 5 competitors per round, and there's 15 participants. So then after 3 rounds, there's going to be 3 winners, right?
Yes, correct. That's what I was getting at.
If every round will produce 1 winner.
The heat winners will then compete again to find out who's the best out of the 3, right? Okay,
that's correct.
That's what you're asking.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was trying to get at was then who's going to be those 3 would essentially have to face off to see who takes the padlock section.
Right. Well, and whoever. So we're not entirely specific yet on how we're going to finalize the last. Let's say there's only 3 people left at the very end, and let's say they're all padlock people. Maybe we don't do padlock. Maybe we do something else. So the judges will help us decide how that last portion of it gets wrapped up. So that one is not set in stone, and that's on purpose. We don't want people to say, ultimately, it will come down to padlocks. Well, in that case, I better fucking make sure I focus on padlocks. We don't want to give any element of this any more leverage than the other. Does that make sense?
Understood. Yep, understood.
Yeah, because if I wanted to win the competition, I would just focus on open domestic, and I would get the best time possible of like 20 seconds. And then I wouldn't even compete in the other 2 because if it was time-based, I would win. So
so what I was coming at was, my understanding was, so if, say, I win heat 1 on padlock, Sandman wins heat 2, and Jareth wins heat 3, right?
Yes.
So then us 3 would continue, go to the next one, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah,
so
we would verse each other eventually.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah,
and that's probably what will happen. Yeah,
I like that. That's very good. I really like that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like a checks. I hate to say it, checks and balances system, so it doesn't get overshadowed by one more wing than the other. Overall winner will be determined by number of rounds won in a tournament style elimination pattern. So if you excuse me. So let's say you can do 3 competitions, right? You can do padlock, automotive, and leashy. Let's say you win padlock, you win leashy, but you lose automotive. You still proceed to the next round, but we're not counting. Well, you won 2, so you're ahead by 1 point. And that system doesn't quite work. The number of rounds meaning you won a round, and then the other people are eliminated. You won the next round, other people are eliminated. There's 3 of you guys. You won that round. You're the winner.
You kind of confused me.
Let me try that again. It doesn't matter how many rounds you win your first time around. If you win all 3 of them, you move to the next heat, right? Everyone else on your heat is eliminated, right?
Okay.
When the next section starts, the next group of people that also won starts. It doesn't matter how many rounds you've won so far. It's all wiped clean again, and everyone starts. This remaining now. Those people, the winners from the previous rounds, now come back in. You guys all come back together until eventually we have no one left.
But if I were to lose round 1, like I get dead last, I still get to compete in round 2 and round 3, correct?
Absolutely. Of everything.
Okay,
Gotcha.
hold on.
So
So
even if
everybody
you
gets
all
Wait, wait,
three-
wait, 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 wait. Don't let's not over talk real quick. Hold on, I have a question. So, Sandman, are you asking like if you lose in your padlock heat, do you get to compete in padlock again?
No. If I lose in padlock, do I still get to compete in automotive leashy? And
Yes.
okay,
Yeah. Consider it like track and field where it's high jump, long jump, and triple jump. Even though
you
they
have
all have
3 chances to win.
3 events.
gotcha.
You get 3 chances to move on to the next round. If you lose all 3, that sucks. But if you win any of those 3, you move on to the next bracket of the tournament.
Gotcha.
So let's say you're the best automotive guy in the world, and you suck shit at padlocks and house locks. You're still moving on to the next round, but eventually there won't be just that one. So it's yeah.
Okay, so the way that I was thinking and understanding it, I guess, was that you guys were using stage 1 and stage 2, which is padlock and automotive leashy, to determine who gets to go to the championship round, which was domestic.
All 3 of those. Everyone that signs up gets to try all 3 of them.
Got it. Now, okay.
So the philosophy is not to award any, extra,
one section.
Yeah, because there's different facets. I mean, come on, there's dimple picking in lock sport. There's Medico, which requires picking to the shear and rotating. ASA adds a sidebar, or side pins too. But it's like we want to find the ultimate badass. I feel like maybe somebody will win all 3. Maybe someone's going to win one. Maybe we're going to have 3 winners. We're going to have a padlock guy. We're going to have an open guy. And we're going to have a leashy guy. Well, those people, if we have 3 different winners of the heats, they're going to compete to find out who's the ultimate badass because it's a level playing field. Old man is good at making money, so he zipped through open. Our lock sporter Sandman's good at American lock, so he busted through it. Somebody else maybe was good at leashy, so they're the champion. So if we put where they're good in one each, and we give 2, what I'm saying, they're going to share the pain essentially, and they're going to find out who's the ultimate badass.
Well,
Gotcha.
the question is, when they find out who the ultimate badass is, what is going to be the tiebreaker? Is it going to be a picking for time? Is it going to be pin tumblers? Is it going to be leashy?
One of each.
Oh, really? Okay, one of each.
Yes.
That makes sense. That's good. Got it.
That way, there's no bias. The old man was going to smoke you in open. He already did.
Yeah.
So why would we just leave it to open?
Yeah.
Sandman's going to smoke me at American. Why would we just leave it to padlock? That gives you the bias.
Makes sense.
All 3. If it's a 3-way tie at the end with winners of each heat being different, it's another competition of sudden death. Everything moves to sudden death. If we cannot determine a winner, sudden death.
Yep. And we're going to try to figure out the best way to do that at random, whether it's a random number generator, whether it's putting pieces of paper in a hat, it will be at random. So if there's 3 guys and they're all champions of their style, then they may lose if it comes down to being a padlock competition. Or the guy that does leashy may lose if it comes down to being a speed competition. So there will be a point where it will be unfavorable for one person. That's going to pretty much tilt it.
We'll see.
Obviously, if it's 3 padlock guys at the end, I'm not going to put them on leashy. That's crazy,
I suppose. I don't think 3 padlock guys can't win. Only one.
That's true. You put 3 padlock guys on leashy, one of them's going to come out on top.
And same with padlock course. 3 padlock guys competing in padlock course, only one badass walks. That'll never happen. That's why the sudden death is so fair, in my opinion. Is where if we choose one of each, then they all have to eat a shit sandwich and then take the glory from their respective field. So
if you lose, you step back, you enjoy the show, you get to yell at Jareth and make fun of him, and it'll be great. It'll be good.
Yeah,
so
heckle me.
Like you're out.
All right. So any questions? Let's iron it flat. Do we have any questions at all? No. All right. Moving on.
Okay. And these rules will be published. They will be available to see. They'll be on our website. The TLA will have it. We will have a physical copy of these rules also. I will be there, making sure they go smoothly, so everything can be answered. We'll be good. Number 8, if you don't know how to use leashy tools, do not participate in this competition. And that comes directly from Leashy. They are supplying the tools for this, and it's no small thing to produce, 25 leashies for a competition, and then hopefully no one breaks them. Yeah. Because imagine if everyone broke a very specific leashy, we have to say, well, that lock's off the table now. So if you don't understand the principle of leashy, if you don't have any experience with leashy tools, you don't have to be great, but if you try to turn it like a wrench, or you just start chopping, is what Jareth calls it. You start just chopping the head up and down, or the probe up and down, and you snap your tool. Do not participate. Make sure that is very clear. If you don't understand how to use leashy tools, do not sign up. We don't want to tell you, sorry, that's not going to work.
I'll clarify one thing. You can still win the $1,000 if you can't use leashy, because if you win 2 out of 3 of the heats, open and padlock, you won. So just if you suck at leashy and you know it, just stay out of that spot, because we're going to beat your ass in the parking lot for breaking tools.
Which brings to the next part is use only the provided leashy tools for the automotive section. So there are some theoretical advantages to modifying leashy tools that some people may say exist, but you cannot use your own. You can't say, well, this one I know opens up this style of car lock.
This is my lucky pick.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chris, real quick. C-Stu Do or Charles Watt is hitting us up asking, how do you qualify or how do you enter? And I can't remember the website right off the top of my head.
So there's 2 ways you can go and enter. The first one is you go to the Texas Locksmiths Association's website, which I believe is just texaslocksmithsassociation.com. There'll be a big link up there that says about the convention, and you'll see a really cool thumbnail for myself and Mr. Sandman with my cool banana shirt from last year. If you go to the store on their website, the convention store, they have all the classes will be on there, and also you can sign up on that side of it for the link. Or if you want a more simple version, you go to my website, LockjawMfg.com, where it says Lock Sport. You click on that. It tells you about it. There's a link that takes you directly to the sign up for it. It has all the information. There's a fee, yes. So we don't really talk about this. If you are a TLA member, it is $25 to sign up. If you're a non-TLA member, it is $50 to sign up for it. But every person that signs up does get a door prize provided by Lockjaw Manufacturing and
the Locksmith Academy.
And the Locksmith Academy, yes, of course.
Nice.
Which brings me to my next thing. Good.
Also, in regards to investing your money into the competition and it returning, also Southord, Sparrows, and other people are supposed to be sponsored as indicated by their logo. Mm-hmm. And from what I'm aware, it's going to be stuff. So, and it's not going to be stuff just for the winners. It's going to be stuff for participants. So, I have no idea.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and I had no say in the matter. No one talked to me about sponsoring our event, Chris, but if they are, they better bring
I found out a lot of this from TLA not too long ago, and I wasn't gonna say no. Get those dirty Canadians away from our competition. Like
I'm just saying, if you're going to put your name on our competition, you better represent.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The participants some love.
So Sparrows and Southern, I'm in Packlock. I'm talking to you. Where's my camera? Yeah. Right there. I'm talking to you. Treat our people good. Don't let them go home empty-handed. They flew a long way. Some of them drove many, many minutes to be here. So let's treat them good. Oh, and the hospitality, by the way. If you've never been to a Texas Locksmith Association convention, do not bring tight-fitting clothes. You will be very disappointed in yourself. Lots of food, lots of drink, lots of good stuff. Use only the provided tools for the section. If you break a leashy tool, you will be disqualified and your entrance fee will be forfeited. I'll say that again. If you break a leashy tool, you will be immediately disqualified and your entrance fee will be forfeited.
I thought our entrance fees were forfeited the second we paid the entrance fee.
Exactly.
He's saying
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
I mean,
we
unless you're trying to
disqualify
say that if you
you're
get
not gonna it back.
disqualified, I was going to say, unless you're talking about being disqualified and then also getting the boot from everything that you guys were just talking about with the stuff that the sponsors are also supplying to us.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Or you break the leash on the first lock and like you don't get to compete, you don't get your money back. It's been forfeited to us. You're not getting your money's worth out of the competition.
Right. So if you're told, hey, sorry, you broke a tool, you can't compete in this, you can't just throw a tantrum there in Texas. They will probably shoot you. So don't try it. Just know that. But also that will give me another option to explain this next rule coming up, because I had a lot of thoughts about this. This is coming directly from Lishi. Let's say the person behind you is super rough with a tool, right? Let's say that probe is cracked, it's bent, and you go in there and you start using it, and you're like, oh, it snapped. You're like, oh shit, am I done? We're not going to be unreasonable. If a probe breaks and we see that you're being gentle with it, I'm not going to say, get the fuck out of here. It's obvious that it's been worn out a little bit. We are going to bring some spares. We have a whole industry of people. I'm sure we can find another leash. It's not going to be impossible. Oh, and also a whole room full of vendors. I think we'll be okay. That rule was put in there because people that don't know how to use leashy tools and they just grab the tension and they just snap it in half like, oopsie, I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, they start chopping. If you are obviously fucking with the tools, you know what you're doing, and you break it, yeah, we're gonna tell you something.
I've taught new people, like not even locksmiths, like repo, tow truck drivers, mechanics, and you would be surprised how stupid some people are. Like you can spend an entire day teaching them, showing them footage in front of them in your own hands, but the moment they touch a tool, they're like, ooh, and they're gonna break it. And I've literally taken tools out of people's hands like, oh my God, no, what the fuck is wrong with you? And you just got to put that rule in there so that people are aware that we will do something if you behave in a manner like that. Because we have
favorite
seen
Ninja
it.
Turtle.
Ninja Turtle is a story we talk about. Ninja Turtle is wild. So this is our Ninja Turtle rule.
This is a FAFO scenario, you know?
Can we
fuck around and find out.
Can we hear the Ninja Turtle story after we hear the rules?
Sure.
Sure.
We're almost done. You can skip a lock if you can't get it to pick. This was something that we thought was obvious, but there are people that think that needs to be clarified. If you cannot get a lock to pick, you can skip it. That goes for the entire competition. If you don't even have to start on the first one. If you say, hey, you know what? And I'm speaking theoretical, so don't hold me to it. Let's say, hey, here's a quick set knob. I know I can pick that super quick, and if I'm trying to get the most points I can in 5 minutes on, the most I can get picked, I'm going to probably pick the easiest stuff I know I can do. And that's smart. That's how people take tests. That's how SAT strategies are designed. You have to know what your strengths are and don't focus on the things you know you can't do immediately. So yes, it is perfectly fine to skip locks on any of these competitions and start and work on the ones you know you can do. If you say, hey, I picked 3, there's no way I'm getting there too. If you want to walk off and get yourself a drink, I don't give a shit. You don't have to do the locks you can't do.
Awesome.
You can pick in any direction you want. Okay? You can pick in any direction you want. I know that may seem
like I did last year, Sandman. Remember, you came up to me and you were like, I noticed you skipped a few locks. And I said, yeah. So that is basically, we can do it. We can do that. We don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it's the test question. Why would I waste all the time on a test on a hard question whenever I've got 98 easy questions to answer after it? We skip it, come back. Do what you need to do.
Yep.
If you find yourself, hey, I got another 30 seconds left, I'll give this other lock a crack that I know I couldn't do. You might surprise yourself. When you are finished, leave the leashy tools in the locks. Do not take them and try to give them to the next person. The reason I want you guys to leave the leashy tools in the locks is because rule number 14, do not leave until the leashy tools and locks are inspected. So when we say you're responsible if you break a tool, This confirms that you are not responsible for it, because if the judge comes over, and by the way, the judge will be Mr. Steve Sacco. He is a leashy teacher. If you're a locksmith, you know him very well as a leashy representative. He is a brand ambassador. He lives and breathes leashy. I mean, I'm sure the man, if you left him alone for the rest of his life, he'd probably be happy just doing leashy. I'm not sure he does locksmith anymore. He loves fucking leashy. It's all he does. He will be inspecting these locks. He will be checking the tools. He will be the person that says, okay, everything's good. Everything's good to go. Next person come up. We don't want you guys to be responsible for something that you didn't create, for as far as tools or being responsible for replacing them. So that's how we can do that, is make sure that you leave the tools there and they will inspect it, and then you'll be good to go.
I think
That's how
great.
that's how we avoid cheating and sabotage, because if I was afraid of somebody, one could break a pick for my next competitor. You know what I mean? And say he did it. So in between it, before and after each round, there will be inspections. So no tomfoolery will be afoot.
We have 5 minutes between each actual portion. So that gives us time for checking tools. There'll be raffles going on. There's a whole convention happening around us. So there's lots of people that will have stuff to say, announcements. So that gives us a great opportunity to take a look at the tools, take a look at the locks, make sure everything's cool, everything's cozy, and then make sure you guys aren't, no one's accusing you of anything you didn't do.
I have a question. Since we're through with the rules, my concern is, I mean, obviously we're trying to put on a competition in a timely manner with inside of 2-hour window for a possible 50 competitors. Is it? My only concern is that 5 minutes, for 5 locks, that's very quick. And a 10-minute window would be really good, but 5 minutes is fairly short. And but there are 3 rounds, so 15 minutes total. Maybe that makes up for it. But my biggest concern was the 5-minute window for hand picking, automotive, and the other stuff. I mean, the average person is probably going to be lucky to get through 2 locks inside of 5 minutes.
Honestly,
Good.
Honestly, 5 locks. Last year we had 10 locks. So
we also had like a 15-minute time.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that we've been confronting, is everybody wants to finish, right? They all want to finish. Like, oh my God, I was so close. I want to finish. Everybody says that, but we want speed to be kind of an incentive, a driver. If we gave all the time that people wanted, the convention would go on for 16 hours,
Yeah.
and you'd get bored and you'd be like, oh my fucking God, this is taking forever. So instead of that,
you won.
huh?
Like the first year you won.
The first year I won, they let everybody finish.
That was so brutal, dude.
It was brutal.
In that light, I do agree that I think 15 minutes is fatiguing and long. I think 5 minutes is short. I think 10 minutes is great. But, you guys are running this for 50 people inside of a 2-hour window. I'm sure you have it all figured out.
Yep.
I think that you'll surprise yourself and be faster than you are probably, assuming you'll be.
The other thing I noticed is when you talk to people that are veteran DEF CON lock picking village competitors, and you ask them what type of tools are people using, what type of techniques, what type of locks, they always report back, it's just a raking competition, because everybody's trying to very speedily pick through the locks, because nobody's single pin picking anything. Everybody's raking. Nobody's picking anything. And so, which is good, because that makes it a level playing field that everybody can compete in. There's no skill in raking whatsoever. But at the same time, it's like, man, I really want to find a lock picking competition, but you can't stop people from raking a lock. And I get that. But when you do have a 5-minute time limit on 5 locks, it becomes a raking competition for sure.
There is no raking with leashy. And I agree with you and disagree, because I think that there's a lot of technique in raking, because you can overlift pins and drop them with tension. You can go to the back and rip it out like we were talking earlier. You can just scrub the fucking shit out of it until it just rolls over. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of technique. But I get what you're saying. I think it would be cool to have an SPP contest, or maybe like a higher level security contest. You know,
Sure,
something
sure.
where
Well,
you're
what's
you're
to
not
stop?
raking open an ASA. You know,
What's to
Go
stop you
ahead.
guys from happening like after hours or like a late night SPP?
I mean, we will have the prototype there, so the prototype will be there
There you
for
go. There you go.
another
And
challenge
Yeah.
for.
you know what? I didn't even consider. You could make this thing an hour long because it's for time. People are still going to rake through the locks, so it doesn't matter what the time is. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 20 minutes. People are still going to try to rake through. So my point is moot. I apologize. No, that makes sense. And people are going to use whatever technique they can get to blast through the locks.
The entire conversation you guys just had, I had in my head the first month. I literally sat down with calculators and I did time. And I said, well, if all 50 people show up and we offer it at 10 minutes per round, tear down, set up for every single round, it's going to be like 4 hours. And that's longer than the convention, I think roughly is about 4 hours. But if for any reason things take longer, we're going to be sitting there waiting for the convention. While you guys are wrapping up, there'll be people sweeping the floors and taking the booths out. So it's like, well, we got to find a way to make sure it fits within time. We don't want to take away from the TLA's main thing here also, which is the convention and the vendors and the people. So as much as I would love to say we're going to do it from the moment they open the doors to the moment they kick everyone out, I have to also consider they have their own agenda, they have their own announcements, they have their own, raffles.
We're guests. We're
Yes.
guests at the
Ultimately,
TLA.
we are guests.
Yeah. So I mean, whenever we have control over it all, and we maybe put on like the next great event.
I'm looking at you, Yankee Security and DEF CON. We're going to be there.
Where we have a little control, perhaps there can be, more challenges. But I think for now, 3 challenges with a time limit and a definite goals, set goals of winning, how to win. It's a good start. You know what I mean? It's a very good start.
I think this is going to be an excellent competition. I think
we're integrating hand picks, tools, and fucking leashy. So I mean,
The thing
all
I noticed
aspects.
with the 10 and 15 minutes timers, if there's a large gap in skill, it's going to become really, really obvious when you have 10 minutes. Well, like in Leashy, we saw people's ripping through. I watched Jareth do a Mercedes in like 50 seconds. He was like, "Oh, that's too long." I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you serious?"
Me and Jareth say that shit on the phone all the time to each other.
Right? So there's going to be there's like people that are. Yeah, I watched him do like a fucking Chrysler in like 13 seconds. I'm like, "Fuck you, dude." Okay.
I had a guy in class. He's like, "Hey, how long does it take you to open up a car?" And I was like, "Could you be more specific?" He's like, "Yeah, like say you're using a FO38 leashy. Like, how long does it take you to open the door?" I was like, 20 seconds, and he was like, "No fucking way." And Eric was like, yeah, maybe sometimes 10 or 15. And the guy was like, "What?" But yeah, it's completely true. And whenever sometimes it takes 50 seconds, you have 1,000 thoughts in your head. Like, is this lock broke? Is my leashy broke? Am I off my game? Like, do I need water? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's sometimes you don't even realize how fast you are.
So
have you been practicing with the locks I sent you?
Oh,
Sandman.
Yeah, no, well, I've been successful with half of them. The other half, no, I'm absolutely terrible with them, and I haven't gotten any further with the other half. But I really appreciate you sending me to them. I need to spend more time with them, and I really appreciate that. I'm terrified of automotive leashy. Like I'm glad that you sent them because I was able to open one within seconds, but the other one I was like, I can feel the false gates on this thing. Like it's like serrated pins, you know.
I'll tell you.
101. Is it
Yes, see, he knows just by what you said. The secret is to learn the system, because if you know max and you set one that's to a 1 depth, and this one over here is being weird, you know that max is a 2, so it can't be a 5, it can't be a 4, so you'll push it down and it'll go past the serration, and then suddenly you're playing ball. You know what I mean? So like leashy is where like the mind is really important, like with the system, because Mazda will have patterns of odd, even, and you can use, the predictive logic of like, oh, this is not where it should be. Oh, it opened. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm kind of coming at this at like the idea of like I'm a wrestler and I'm a boxer, But Jareth is this gold medalist judoka player from, you know, from Japan, and so I'm gonna get swept off my feet a few times. I'm gonna eat some shit here for this first couple rounds in that department, but I'm gonna try to hold my own in other areas. So I'm going into this with zero expectations on automotive leashy whatsoever. Like,
Dude,
fine.
I'm scared shitless because I had a Mexican in my class last year who was quiet as fuck, and he walked up to that tower.
That'd be
He
smoked.
walked up to that tower, and I was like, "You got this." He's like, "Mm-hmm," and he's just like, "Boom!" in like 15 seconds. And that lock that he smoked in 15 seconds took me 45 seconds.
Wow.
I was like, "Who the fuck are you?" So
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a close call. I didn't think you were gonna win last year. I was like, well,
oh,
you gave it a good shot, and then you pulled through. I was like, all right, okay,
I'm terrified.
should be.
I'm excited though. Yeah, lock picking hippies coming for us all, man. We just don't know it.
I'm telling you, man, he's the sleeper. I've watched his videos. He was like practicing for the TLA, and he's got these padlocks. I'm like, dude, he knows what he's doing. He's not showing up today.
I can try to take one category. the residential, the automotive scares the ever loving shit out of me. I'm not even gonna lie, and it might be one of those ones where if I can't get enough practice in with one of the guys at the locksmith shops, I might not even touch it, just because I don't know the proper tensioning behind a leashy well enough to where that worries me. Like, that's the last thing I want to do is walk in and break somebody else's shit.
I started as a lock picker, and I tell the locksmiths all the time, they all rejected me. A lot of them, they're like, "Oh, fuck it, fuck a lock, picker." And so earlier I was talking about the third eye and how we would go in blind and we would figure things out. When I jumped into the locksmithing industry, I thought they were all cheating because they had a map on their leashies. They knew exactly where things were, and leashy was extremely easy. So how do you pick a lock? You attack the binding pin or a component, and then you affect it until it becomes marginally springy, and then you move on and repeat. Eventually, through that methodology, the lock should open. And so it's the same thing with a lock pick at looking for a binding pin as it is with a leashy. You're better than you think you are. So I would like you to compete in automotive, because I'm sure that you have the 100-year touch that many of the locksmiths don't have. They don't practice with picks, hooks, or anything like that. Most of them are, if it doesn't have a leashy, they don't do it. So you're actually on a more level playing field than you believe you're on.
Well, and Chris and Jareth, you guys had talked about how you guys kind of took over the competition and all that stuff. Whenever I was getting my passes in order to just like be able to go to the convention, I had a rep reach out to me because I put in for 4 passes. I'm bringing my whole family down with me to this thing. And she was worried that I put in something wrong or something. And she was talking about how the TLA is excited that the lock sport community is wanting to get involved with the TLA. Like, they want to branch out as much as what you guys are trying to do with the lock sporters too, which I think is amazing. It used to be, from the sounds of it, you couldn't walk into a locksmith shop as a lock sporter because they kind of shunned you. Listen, you picking locks as a hobby when I do this as a living, that's kind of bullshit. And I think that's starting to flip a little bit. I walked into 3 locksmith shops just to talk with them, and they were actually excited about the fact that I was learning how to single pin pick, how to rake. And that's just awesome.
Well, if I may say, the internet was created, I think, like 1968 or 69. It was written on a napkin in like 1967 as a way of connecting colleges together so they could share information, research, that they were working on. And then, sometime throughout the 80s and the 90s, we started seeing computer hackers, internet hackers, and guys that were freakers and guys that were getting on and doing things that maybe some of them weren't doing things they should have been doing, but other guys were just trying to see what they were capable of doing. And there was a lot of backlash there for a good 20 years on the hacker community. Now the two communities have joined forces, and you have cybersecurity. You have cybersecurity professionals who are looking for people.
Yep.
Yeah, the Flipper Zero. You want cybersecurity professionals that have grown out of just the need of using the internet for connecting, research universities, but now it's connecting whole civilizations across, continents and oceans and stuff. They need people who have that curious mindset of how things are built. Can we break it and make it better? And that's all Locksport is doing with locksmithing. I'm not installing anything, but I have 450 locks behind me. I have 95% of every lockpick manufacturer represented from every company that's modern in the world. Is 30 of them. I have everything, but I'm not going out and doing locksmithing, and I'm sure as hell not breaking the law. I'm just enjoying in the comfort of my home. And I've gotten to the point that I'm now consulting for companies in that aspect. So we're bridging that gap. Yep. We're bridging that gap. And I absolutely love that you guys have opened this up to the civilians. For the civilians that are watching, while I'm on my soapbox here, for the civilians that are watching, going to this convention was the coolest thing ever. I went for the competition and I stayed for the convention. The convention, you're going to meet the nicest vendors in the world, the nicest distributors. You're going to meet people who have invented things. You're going to meet people that sell things. You're going to meet people that are recruiting. And I got to go to the pack lock, and they gave me a commemorative padlock here for the Texas Locksmith Association. It has the date on it and everything. You guys are going to walk away with so much free swag. You're going to walk away with shirts from Multi-Lock. You're going to walk away with pinning trays from CLK Supply. You're going to walk away with pinning tweezers and Phillips head screwdrivers and stuff from
cheap bags. You're gonna get cheap bags.
Yeah, you're gonna have
dryer sheets. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say something. Like, I was a lock sporter before it was called lock sporting. It was just hobby picking, like key picking. Like, we were clan key picking. There was LP 101. Fuck those guys. And so we had our clans and stuff. And I joined. Like, here's what happened: is I was picking locks. I would search antique locks, like, because you're addicted, right? You're buying antique locks. These locks are fucking valuable, but oftentimes they have no key. So you're like, all right, I'm tired of picking this damn thing open. I want it to open whenever I want. So you make a key for it. Many people jumped into impressioning or buying a key machine or taking the lock apart like a Yale bicentric, knocking the rivets out, taking it apart, making a key, putting it back together. And next thing you know, that $75 padlock is now worth $375. And so that's how I broke into becoming a locksmith. Is I was at home raising my daughter, fixing shit for fun, and then making money. And then you buy new tools, and next thing you know, you got a horde like Sandman, and you can employ a whole fucking army of lock pickers.
Yep.
So it's like shit changes. And I want to include the brilliant minds of the lock sport industry, because too often, it's segregated, and I don't see why it's segregated. I think it's left hand and right hand kind of deal. You know what I mean?
I would like to say that if there's any locksmiths that are watching this that are kind of curious about lock sport, we have very strict rules across every single lock sport forum and Facebook group, and from Reddit to Discord. Like, we have crazy, very intense rules that if we see people picking locks that are in use, meaning they're not a locksmith, but here they are picking a lock that has been installed on a door or an object that's designed to keep something secure, we usually remove the post and we haze these people. But if we don't remove them altogether from the community, we will do it the second time. There's not a single Reddit group that I'm aware of, or Discord group or Facebook group that I'm aware of that has more than a dozen people that are in there. There may be one or two that are in there but they're not successful. There's not a single group in all of the interwebs that I'm aware of, and I follow them all. I follow 46 unique websites. Okay, there's not a single group that allows criminality of any kind whatsoever, because the guys that moderate and take care of these groups, like myself, I'm in charge of art. I'm an admin for Art of Lockpicking Facebook group, has 20,000 members, and Lock Sport Collectors group, which has just under 700 members on Facebook. And I'm not a mod with Reddit or Discord, but I've been active in those for half a decade. We don't want that in these groups, because the second that stuff becomes a thing, it brings the wrong type of people. It brings the wrong type of heat from law enforcement. We get the ire and ear from locksmiths who we've been trying to build, relationships with. So we guard our own, and we protect our own, and we absolutely put the hammer on these guys. But I love that you guys are still willing to, open this up for us. I want to see more civilians come into this. I want to see locksmithing become great again. I know that the average locksmith in North America today is between 55 and 65 years old, because that's the average blue collar worker across all the fields. I went to school for welding, woodworking. It's in those fields as well. So I want to see locksmithing grow, and I would love to see the average age of a locksmith be 20 to 30 years old. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And if they
I don't know why younger people don't become locksmiths more. I mean, we see a lot of it. Usually it's young immigrants, and because
that's
low
a
entry,
whole can of worms.
It's low entry, but I think more people should get into it, because when you dive into it, it's soldering, EEPROM, transponders, it's hacking, it's surreptitious covert entry, but you're getting paid for it. Like every time I'm picking someone's house, I'm like dun 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 dun. And so it's a lot of fun.
The guys that drive around and unlock cars for like KeyMe, these other services all day, and they say they're a locksmith. They're not. That's like a doctor that only takes blood pressure and says, "I'm a doctor, everyone. I'm a doctor." Or a chef. They only make sandwiches. Like, you're not a chef. There's a whole range of skills.
Yeah, it's like lock picking. You can start at wafer, pin tumbler, but eventually you're going to challenge yourself and go towards a Primus or Sergeant Queso chips. Every time I say that lock's name.
Well, that's what's great about the differences between locksmithing and lock sport. When I was working as a shop locksmith and I started doing road calls and stuff, and I was doing my road work, I worked with a guy who basically installed CCTV, and we're climbing up a 30-foot ladder over a barbed wire fence, and we're trying to get on top of the roof to install that stuff. I'm like, bro, like, I'm not going up that ladder. I'm here to pick locks. You know what I mean? He goes, no, this is the job. This is what we're out here to do. So, like,
many disciplines. It's so many different disciplines, from woodworking to low voltage to spatial reasoning on how to address complex puzzles, evaluating the logistical side of your brain when it comes to looking at a door, why it's not working, hardware,
moving safes,
electronics, security.
Yeah, safe delivery. I worked with a guy while he was installing a crash bar system for a school, a double crash bar, and all I could do was just sit and watch, because I was like, I can't even touch anything on this. There's so much math and geometry and stupid mechanics involved just trying to get this crash bar, panic bar system installed. Like it had nothing to do with any shop locksmithing that I did, and yet this guy was the 20-year veteran, best locksmith we had. Like it's just so diverse. I want to see more civilians get excited about it, like I get excited talking about it. There's so many things, so many aspects you get. You can go into a locksmith shop and apply for a job in dispatch. You can go to a locksmith shop and apply for a job in the shop or in the van. You can work commercial. You can work residential. You can focus on lockout. You can do all types of stuff. There's guys that are like, hey, I only install the electronic locks now because they found some special vendor, and they can become the only guy in that area supplying that type of lock. Like there's just so many avenues, and there's really good money in it. People want to make a living.
There's a good friend.
Machines. Fixing machines for locksmiths. Buy a broken machine, calibrate a broken machine. That in itself.
I just got an XP400 in the mail the other day from another locksmith. I got to repair the USB port on.
Yeah, there's so many facets to this. I wish it was just simple as picking locks all day and saying we get paid $1 million to do it, but we don't.
1 million challenges, is what makes up the industry of a locksmith, is like 1 million different challenges. I was telling Chris, it's like we possess no real, crazy skill. We can't save someone with heart trauma, but we have like a million skills put into one package.
Dude,
Like we know how to turn the tiniest of screws without breaking them.
If a locksmith had one skill set, it would be problem solving. Like
Absolutely, that's what I say all the time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Jareth literally says that all the time.
we had a locksmith come into the shop, and we had a female locksmith named TC DeShane. She had 25 years, and she mentored me and this other young locksmith. And he had came into the shop, and he was talking about how he just changed out his water heater. And he told me, he goes, if it wasn't for TC DeShane teaching me how to be a locksmith, I never would have had the confidence to look at my water heater and troubleshoot it, problem solve it, and realize I can change it out myself. Like, that's what locksmithing does. Locksmithing gives you a confidence that most people don't walk around with, because you're a mechanic, but you're locksmithing, but you're also doing the electrical, stuff as well. Like, it's so multifaceted. You, in my opinion, you become an expert, or you become a master mechanic after 25 years, essentially. Like, I mean, it's just even more than that. It's phenomenal what you guys can do.
And let's be realistic here. If it was zombie apocalypse, I wouldn't want to be a carpenter. I want to be a locksmith.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason why it's featured in so many video games.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, this is a really cool skill set. I'm like, yeah, if there's ever zombies, though, protect me, because we'll steal everything. And they're like, fuck yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, we'll have the Great Wall of F-150s. Yeah,
I wanted to do a challenge for a long time. I've probably thrown this idea at Jareth probably a dozen times since I've known him. I want to do a live action zombie apocalypse lock picking challenge. Like, hey, here's a storefront door. We're gonna get a decibel meter, see how much noise you make, get a bunch of extras dressed up as zombies. If you make too much noise, they just fucking flock to you. Have all these different lock picking challenges, all based around a zombie apocalypse theme. So if anyone does that this year or the next year here, you heard it here. That was my idea.
You know what you can do?
I want to do an axe murderer that just slowly comes at you like this as you're picking a lock.
Yeah, that's what.
So you got 30 seconds.
There's a game show somewhere. It is somewhere in Asia. I don't know if it's South Korea, Japan. But basically, they put these 5 people in a room. It's like a weight room, and then they tie rubber duckies or rubber chickens to their feet that squawk whenever they move. Okay, and so a sixth person comes in with a blindfold and has a wet pool noodle, and their goal is to try to find the people in the room that have the ducks or the rubber chickens on their feet. So they're trying to climb all over the weightlifting equipment to get away from this person that's blindfolded. You could do something similar. Have 5 people in a room picking locks, and have somebody that's blindfolded, that's the zombie, looking for the lock pickers that are trying to pick the lock.
Sandman's like, all right, hear me out. 5 people in a dark room, 1 fucking sword. Winner takes all.
You have a pinata, and then you have a person, but everybody's blindfolded.
Everybody's swinging.
1 person has a sword.
I'm just saying, if we can incorporate zombies and lock picking and stuff, I'm sure there's some little rundown ghost town out there, fucking somewhere on Route 66. We can borrow for a couple days. And
man, they rent out malls. There's malls that get rented out for airsoft competitions. Just try to find one of those somewhere in the country. You can just rent a mall and create your own vault room.
Yeah, you could do an airsoft field, a paintball field. You could definitely use a commercialized building or something like that. Someone asked about the Ninja Turtle. Can we hear the Ninja Turtle story?
Oh yeah.
It's really not that good of a story. I taught classes for UHS for a while. UHS has a reputation of selling and basically doing whatever they want to with anybody, unvetted, vetted, doesn't matter. And so me, Eric, and former partner Paul go to Hollywood, Florida to teach a class on automotive locksmithing. And the class is very diverse, if you know what I mean. Couple of non-English speakers. Like, in fact, one guy had Google Translate open in the back, and I noticed that whenever I was talking, I'd hear blah, 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 and I was like, da, 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 and blah, 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 blah. I was like, do you really have Google Translate open right now for everybody to hear? And he was like, I don't know what you're saying to me. And I was like, get the fuck out of my class. You're distracting me. I was like, if you can't speak English, like, what the hell are you doing here? So anyway, we had this one guy who looked like a Ninja Turtle. He was this little black kid with an afro, so his head kind of looked like the shape of a Ninja Turtle. He walked in class wearing a purple hoodie that was tucked up like this. So I was like, Donatello. And he had these glasses that were strapped to his head that looked like goggles. So he like legit looked like a masked Ninja Turtle walking around my class. And I was like, that's an interesting kid. I'm going to keep an eye on him. So we taught how to identify keyways, you know, how to determine how to make the key, how to use Lishi, like for like 6 hours, like in detail. And we brought them all to the table and we walked around with them patiently, showed them like the question of the day was, how much tension do I put on a Lishi? And you asked that earlier.
Yep.
You know, you're like, I may not be sure how to tension. It's just like a lockpick, a finger pad's worth of pressure. And I'd walk around the class and I'd say, hold your finger out, and I'd do that. That's all you need. And if you don't get anything binding, you press a little harder. Well, this kid, you know, I look over and he's standing next to the table like this, and he's cranking all his weight on the armature of the Lishi, and he's not even looking at it. He's watching me walk around the class, and he's just doing this. Like this, back and forth, back and forth. And I couldn't fucking believe it. I was like, hold on. I was like, there's no fucking way. I was like, look at the damn thing. There's a map there. It's literally a graph. I was like, you're doing nothing. You're gonna break the tool. And he's like, okay. So he would do this. He'd look at it, and then he'd look at me again and start chopping away at the tool. And so we took the Lishis away from him. And he was incompetent, like as incompetent as I've ever seen somebody. I was like, damn, whoever paid his ticket here wasted their fucking money. But so he's not allowed to have the Lishis. We're basically just like, you know, just kind of ignore him. And somebody asked a question about a BMW lock, and I didn't know the answer. And I was like, that's a really good question. I don't know if there's a code on this BMW lock. It kind of looks like a code. I'll be damned if Ninja Turtle didn't steal that fucking lock out of my hand and say, let me see it. I know. I was like, bitch, you know nothing, you know? And I yelled at him. I was like, you need to not ever fucking grab anything out of my hand again. I was like, in fact, you just sit there. It royally pissed me off. I was like, how dare thee? And he got upset, and he looks like a school shooter. And he got upset. He put his hands in his hoodie pocket, and he fucking stormed off to the furthest corner of the classroom and got a cookie. And then he sat down and just ate it to himself. And I was like, I'm a dead man. That man's gonna kill me. And so, yeah, that was Ninja Turtle. He was a moderately concerning individual.
How long did you teach those classes for UHS, and did you like that? And what was that like? Did they see you everywhere, or was it just in California?
I was in Florida.
They're in Florida only.
Okay.
Yeah. They were fun for the moment. Like dating a slutty woman, you know? You're like, well, that was fun, but I'll never fucking do that for the rest of my life again, you know? Like, it was, you don't know what you're getting with those classes. I had people from Nigeria, and he literally invited me to Nigeria. He's like, as a white man, you would make a lot of money in Nigeria. I was like, are you sure I wouldn't get stoned to death in the street? He's like, no. He's like, I would protect you. And I was like, who the fuck are you? You know? So he showed me a picture of him lying on a couch, and he was like, I am a very rich man, as you can tell. And I was like, very nice. Very nice. Like, you don't know what you're getting in those classes.
Man,
it's wild.
That's crazy. Inner city lock picking teaching.
Yeah, and then there was like, you have some students like one of the guys that is coming to Texas this year. They're just fucking star students. They start out, they don't know a lot, but they have that mindset. They're interested, and you teach them, and they learn everything in class. And guy couldn't pick a fucking lock before he got there. He pays close attention to Jareth. Next thing you know, he's picking all the fucking locks. You know,
yeah.
Then now he's over here doing BMWs and Audis and all this shit, and like, he contacts me every day. The guy's just smart as hell. Just keeps.
The guy had
driving.
the curiosity of a surgeon. Like,
yeah.
He was just constantly like watching, and he couldn't pick a lock, but then he picked every lock, you know, in class. And by the end of class, he's like, what challenge do you have for me now? I was like, get out of here, fuck off. You know, now you're showing off. You know, but he's just taken off running. You know, some people are sponges and some are rocks. You know, so Mama said like or teaching for UHS was a box of chocolates. Sometimes you get rocks.
So I got a question. You have your. Can you put in a plug for your locksmith school? Some of the people that are watching don't know anything about that. Can you explain what that is and how people can get into that?
It's the locksmithacademy.com or locksmithacademy.com. Join if you want. I really don't care. Yeah, not everybody's a student I want to teach, and that's what I've learned from being available as an instructor. We offer a free week. You know, get your dick wet, see what it's like. If you don't like it, that's all right. So some people like learning in depth. They like knowing what the wafers look like inside the lock. They like knowing how to take it apart and put it back together. Some people are only concerned about making money. Those people are not who I want. I want the learners.
Yeah.
Those
You have to be a
people
learner.
are the ones that are a real fucking pain in the ass because when they don't, all they want to do is make the money. They're not willing to learn. So then when
They don't
presented with
care about the
problem
details.
that they should be able to figure out like this, they come to us. How to fix car, friend? You know
What key to go to this car? I'm like, did you fucking look? And they're like, I'm so busy. I pay
Yeah,
you
right.
for help. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're
So-
not there to run your business.
Is your locksmith academy? Is it based out of Missouri, where you're based out of? Is it all online? How can somebody go to your school?
It's
all
online.
Oh, really? And how many weeks is it?
It's however long you want it to be because there's no, like, you know, some people hit the ground running, some don't. So it's whatever.
it's
You can pay me
self-paced.
by month or year or whatever.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's self-paced. Is it mentor-based or is it curriculum-based?
Both. It has a curriculum, a pretty stout one that I took a lot of time to build that people don't like to do because, you know, they don't want to see how an HY22 lock breaks down. Well, I want you to see that.
Yeah.
Because you may have broke your leashy. You're in the rural area with no internet, so you can't buy the cheap key code. You still need to make your money. You're out there, so take the lock apart. But people don't want to be told in what order to learn, and that's kind of a problem that we're facing now, and we're trying to fix amongst the academy.
So Charles Watt just asked, it says, where do you even start with automotive locks? I would imagine I would.
Your own, whatever you drive or your family.
Whatever you drive.
But I would also imagine if I, like me, Sandman, like I actually want to learn more automotive leashy and automotive locks. I could, if I were to sign up for the Locksmith Academy, I can, is there sections? Obviously there's sections that focus specifically on that, but how would I go about learning that?
Yeah, I mean, you could see for yourself. The free week on the academy opens you up to a sample of our Chrysler system, and it starts with like the old system of antique cars, like pre-1994, and then the newer ones, that system, and then the newest system, and then it'll break into like how to leashy, how to make key, how to generate transponder, how to program remote. We progressively go up the goal ladder. Because as I said, as a locksmith, I started with picking. Well, in automotive, you got to pick the lock with the leashy to decode it. So we teach you how to pick. Then we teach you how to decode. Well, you've cut a key. That's great. It turns the locks, but it doesn't start it because it's transponder equipped. Another goal of the rung of the goal ladder. You got to keep going and climb into the next task. So now we teach you how to program. Oh shit, you don't have the right key? We can show you how to make it now. So there's tons of things that go in. Your programmer doesn't pull the pin code. We show you how to take a part off the car and read part of the circuit board to pull the pin code. And that's called EEPROM, electronically erasable program, read-only memory. And that's the kind of shit that people use to develop computers. So you see it keeps going and going. Next thing you need to know, you got to solder. You know, now you're a master solderer. So it just keeps going. An automotive locksmith can unlock cars, or he can be almost a NASA engineer. It's whatever you want to be. You can stop learning anytime you want, or you can never stop learning.
That's crazy. That's awesome. That's so cool that you do that. Are there other schools like that, or is what you're doing pretty groundbreaking?
I was one of the first, and then there's like Locksmith University, but I'm an American and I don't hate my competitors. I encourage it. So good on them for copying me.
Well, there's a lot of vendor programs also. They're secretly kind of tied to the vendor. It's like, hey, we'll teach you how to make keys for cars using our tools, our products, our remotes, and everything. It's very unpleasant to say that, like, it's obviously to generate sales, and I get that. I've taken leashy classes from Midwest when Midwest was really starting to push and start to get all the leashies in. This is when Genuine and Original were kind of still fighting, and I took an Original leashy class, and it was the biggest piece of dog shit I've ever seen. It's here's some vices, and it's like, hey, teach me about the pressure and the tension in the ring, and then the teacher was just like, he's got to push on a little bit and just kind of move it around till you feel it. I'm like, what? That doesn't fucking help anything. And it's the difference between someone that is passionate about what they teach. I've taken Jareth's classes twice. I've taken Aloha classes. I've taken just car classes, and hands down, he actually gives a shit about the content. He's really into it. He's developed a curriculum based on what he knows is going to actually work, and not just say, well, if you buy our $8,000 program, or you don't have to worry about anything. Buy the tokens, it's fine. It's night and day. It's fucking tremendously night and day.
That's awesome.
We don't have a set curriculum for any class either. Like, we'll have like a set of parameters we want to cover in a certain topic of class, but we find out at the beginning of the class what everyone's skill set is and where they're at, so we can custom tailor everything we're going to teach them on the fly to help them personally. You know what I mean? Because we might have a class where it's like beginners automotive, but everybody in there, they all already know how to pick locks and use leashy. They all know how to cut keys. So maybe we might move into teaching them some programming and moving forward with that, where sometimes we get them and they don't know shit. So then we got to start with, okay, well, let's teach you guys how to identify keyways, how to use the leashy, things like that. And so we'll kind of get a feel for every class, and everyone is, uniquely individual. And I think that's where we stand out a lot more than a lot of other instructors. And it's not to shit on any one person, but I've heard a lot of things where other instructors will just throw up the same fucking PowerPoint 5 years in a row at every fucking convention, and everybody gets the same class. So, they might pick up 1 or 2 things there, and they might not learn anything, or they might be bored to fucking death.
That's fantastic.
My favorite teacher of all time, like, he would always start the day with an idea. He'd be like, pyramids. And the next thing you know, people would be like, what about pyramids? He'd be like, what do you know about pyramids? I know about Egypt. And he'd be like, Egypt, pyramids. What else? Ziggurat. What'd you call me? And he'd write it on the wall, And it was like, that was a fun way of teaching. You pull the audience, is what I call it. And you see what they already know. And people, whenever they start to talk, they get more confident, because if they don't know something, I'm like, that's cool. I was like you. I didn't know that neither. And I'm glad to teach you. And then you got someone over here who's an expert in everything. But next thing you know, we say some shit he ain't never heard in his life. And he's like, what the fuck? And that guy who didn't know shit was like, everybody knows that. You know what I mean? It becomes a town hall where it's kind of, it's a lot of fun, because I'm not the best. I never will be the best, Yeah. I'm a rookie for life.
No, what you're doing is you're disarming them, and you're forcing them to drop their defenses in that instructional environment. I once was trying to teach a grappling class to a bunch of Division III or club level wrestlers that were going to this Baptist college in Plainview, Texas. And I was an MMA fighter formerly, and I was going through a law enforcement academy. And so I was putting on this little class where I'm teaching people how to do some stuff. And these wrestlers were learning jiu-jitsu. And I said, raise your hand if you know how to do a rear naked choke. All 20 wrestlers raised their hand. I said, okay, you two show me. And they couldn't do it. I'm like, well, that was weird. And I said, all right, you two, you raised your hand, show me. And they couldn't do it either. I said, what's going on here? And I picked 2 more people. Now we're reaching at a little above, 25% of the people that raised their hand. They couldn't do it either. I said, all right, hold on. Let's reassess the question here. Raise your hand if you know how to do a rear naked choke. And I shit you not, every single person in that group still raised their damn hand. Even the 6 that just proven that they didn't know how to, because their defensives were up, and they just didn't want to admit that they didn't know how to do anything. So it's a lot easier when you're teaching people and exposing them and saying, well, show me what you do know. And one time I had to go in front of a Muay Thai instructor when I was getting ready for a fight, and he goes, show me what you know. And I had like less than 30 seconds worth of crap to show him. And he goes, that's it. And I said, yeah, that's it. And he goes, man, that's not very much. And I was like, I know, that's why I'm here. And so, you know, I really love that method that you're doing with these locksmiths. You're exposing, you know, what they don't know in that first week and asking them what they want to know, but then, you know, giving them what they actually need to know instead of just saying, here's a class, listen to me, watch what I do, and just, you know, do as I say. You're not going to get any people learning that way. I didn't mean to go off on a long tangent, but it's a skill set to learn how to teach people in general. And you have to treat adults like they're children. And I can imagine it's very hard to teach people how to think, which is locksmithing. Locksmithing is not just working on locks. It's how to problem solve. So I commend you for that.
It's like in Pulp Fiction, Marcellus Wallace says pride is a motherfucker, you know? And I always tell people that. I'm like, if you don't know something, like, say it. Like, I have bricked cars. All the best locksmiths brick cars, even if they don't want you to know it. There's cars that they've walked from, even if they got the biggest dick swinging you ever seen. So, you know, just don't be afraid to fail, because if you're not failing, you're not pushing your limits, you know? You're not trying. So,
yep. Can I tell you a funny fail story for working for Papa Lock? So I was doing some on the job training or field training with my my field training officer or whatever with Papa Lock, you know, my manager or whatever. I'd already went through the 40 hours of training that they required us to do at an insurance yard, but they required me to do like another couple days with my manager. And so I get up to the customer's car on the driver's side, and he immediately yells at me. And he's like, no, not the driver's side, always the passenger side, because Papa Lock had this policy of always doing passenger side. And it was a decent policy. If you're going to screw up a door, screw up the passenger side, don't screw up the driver's side. And and sometimes these unlocks, they're on the side of a highway. You don't want to be on the driver's side with the traffic behind you. So, but this particular car, and I don't remember what it was, but this particular car, the manual said the driver's side. And I told him, I said, but this is a such and such. And for the in the door method, not going in between the door and the body, but Papa Lock, Central Texas, specifically required 9 times out of 10 to go in between the window and the door, the body of the door. And so to get to the linkages. And I said, but I said, this model of car requires us. He goes, no, never in front of the client, always the passenger side. Hey, you're the boss. So I go over to the passenger side. The second I put in that tool, it gets stuck.
I
didn't shatter the window. Luckily, no. The tool immediately got stuck. There was framing inside of the door that had holes, and the L-shaped tool just found its way into one of those holes and was Dunsky. I couldn't get out, and I call him over. It's like, hey, boss, I got the tool stuck. And he goes, just jiggle it. No, this thing's not coming out. He goes over there. He spends 30 minutes trying to get this tool out, trying to halfway disassemble the door. And this girl's like, sirs, I apologize, but I got to go to class, and I'm paying to go to college. I have to go to class. I can't miss class. And my manager's like, but, he goes, no, I have to go to class. You guys can fix it after. He goes, okay. So this poor girl had to drive to class with a door tool sticking out of the window as she's driving down the road, goes to class, and then finishes class. And then he meets up with her and had to disassemble the whole door to get that tool out because he wanted to tell me what door to go on, and it was not the right door. So it's funny. Something you said reminded me of that. You said, oh yeah, you've bricked certain locks inside of doors, and I've gotten a tool stuck in a door, and she had to drive around with it for 2 hours.
My dad, he fucking was lazy and left me an F-150 or a Ranger, and I had, in the door tools, and it would say, use this one and put it here and do this and twist it, and it should work. I had it stuck in that door for probably 2 days before I got the balls to, pull it out, and it came out. And I swore on my life I would never use another in the door tool ever again. And I love seeing new locksmiths get them stuck because I'm like, they learned what I learned, They're never going to do that.
I really enjoyed using the in the door tools. I was in those short months, I was able to get into over 300 different cars using those tools. But this was they never would have trusted us with leashy tools. Central Texas, Papa Lock, if you're listening, you guys only hire meth heads and drug addicts and people that are basically homeless. So I don't blame you for not supplying us with quality tools that are delicate. But I was definitely a standout there, and I definitely would have preferred to learn the leashy way. I think that's more professional for sure, and it takes away, you know, some of the, you know, if you walk up onto a job and you get them in, I could get into a car in 20 seconds, no problem, with just a reach tool, just like anybody else. But then the customer's pissed. Like, why am I paying $55 when all you did was, you know, do that? So, but when you pull out a leashy tool, man, it's so much more professional, and you have more options.
You're still in 20 seconds.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
And then they're still fucking pissed because they're just pissed.
But
You're like,
get
oh,
a lot of
I got to pay you for that.
Yeah.
But you're not going to
it's so
scratch.
easy.
You're not going to scratch the car with a leashy tool.
Exactly.
And, you know, you're
not
cut
going to bend the door frame either.
Exactly. You can cut them a new key. You know.
Hey, Eric, can you real quick pull up that Instagram link that I sent you? We want to show off the towers if possible. We had how should we describe Godfeedy?
He is a muralist. He is the spray can Leonardo da Vinci. He's I call him a muralist. That's what he is.
He's pretty cool. He custom tagged the towers that we're going to be picking on. He's tagged them up with iconography of Lockjaw, so it's pretty cool.
He was a street level graffiti guy for many years, and he kind of became an oil painter. And so now he does like these big, gigantic graphical murals with spray cans, like literally out of a little handheld notebook. But he's been a good friend of mine for a while. And I said, look, I got these towers, dude. And he said, say less. And he came over and he got them all cleaned up for us. There's no locks on there yet, obviously. I don't want to give out too much. But yeah, that's at least your preview of what you're going to be picking on. That's going to be for the leashy tools. There'll be vices all over that. That one right there is for the residential open. So that all those sections will be filled up with locks.
That's fantastic.
So are you gonna drill into that wood and mount the locks to the board, or how is that gonna work on?
I already did that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I can't show you the board side. Just because you kind of know what they are.
Yeah, no, I don't want any insider knowledge. We want everybody who wants to compete to show up. Basically, if you want to compete in the contest, show up, pay the fee, be respectful. You know, we want to bridge the gaps. We got to, Picking Hippie isn't a locksmith, but he's going to try to be. He's getting his certs and everything. Sounds like he's doing the right things, making connections. And that's one of the best things with conventions is just talking to like-minded folk. And I know a lot of times, even from my perspective, I'm afraid to meet new people out of fear of what they think of me. But once you come to Texas, like I have been doing, it is the most welcoming of conventions I've ever gone to. Awesome. Texas
if
is
you
home.
Want to become a locksmith, this is definitely one of the best first steps you can make between just talking to the TLA, networking with people. I wish we could say we had more people interested, and not to say that we don't, but there's not just, you can't go on Indeed.com and just pick up your local locksmith. It's usually not that easy. There's apprenticeships, you don't know what you're doing.
We're facing a pandemic really of like scammer locksmiths, that come into the industry with no experience and a lot of money. And so I would prefer to flip the table and bring a lot of fucking skilled labor with no money. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you're seriously interested in something like this, a convention, and I'm not trying to just sell, the convention allows you to talk to people who have been there, done that, failed, succeeded, and tried again. And so you can cut through a lot of the mistakes that you would make, just by talking to these people. And that's kind of the best thing you get is even whenever I'm teaching class, I'm supposed to be the expert. I often walk away a better student myself,
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I know just about the short amount of time that I've been sharing the competition on Instagram and, posting it on YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, I've gotten a couple of messages just since we've been sitting here talking about how there's guys planning on coming next year. Like they're already trying to figure out how to get the ball rolling and get down there next year. So I mean, it's already starting to bridge. The short amount of time that I've been involved with lock sport and stuff like that, it's been so welcoming. and the kindness and the love. I mean, it's crazy. It really is. And the support that I'm seeing from the locksmith side of it just blows my mind, because I have heard those horror stories. I've heard those stories of how guys used to go in and get chased out of locksmith shops and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's real. The hate is real, and it's a lot of the old guard's going to be retiring, and they've always had that kind of perspective that if you don't do it every day, 24 hours a day for 30 years, they don't want to be your friend. And I still see that locally. There's locksmiths that are just very cold, very salty, and I've been doing this for almost 15 years, and they still don't want to they still want to play ball, and I get that. They're just super sour. That's fine, but it is what it is.
To be fair, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, to be fair, I don't even think that's necessarily relegated to locksmithing and locksmiths trying to keep trade secrets away from lock sporters and criminals. My dad used to tell me, my dad was a mechanic for 50 years. Everything he did, whether we were working for a Ford line mechanic or working for Harley Davidson or working in the Air Force on F4, Phantom, fighter jets, or working on steam locomotive engines for Six Flags amusement parks, you're going to have an old guard of people that just don't want to open up to the new guard. They just want you to have a rough go at things. They're not going to like you. When my dad worked for Six Flags in the early 80s, they were all helicopter mechanics and fighter jet mechanics from Vietnam era. And then in the late 80s, when they started bringing in the unions into Six Flags, it was a bunch of guys with long hair wearing sandals coming to work to be a mechanic, and they just didn't fit in, whether they were there to learn or not. So I don't think I'm doing my best to learn not to demonize locksmiths, because I've worked for 4 different shops and I had bad experiences. The reality is that's just blue collar trades. Whether you're a welder or a woodworker or anything else, you're just going to run into an old guard of good old boys who just don't like you because they don't want you to find out how they made it because they worked hard, or to find out that maybe they're kind of full of shit and maybe they're just hanging on, by a thread, and just living off of, their reputation, not necessarily their skill. There's a lot of guys doing that in the blue collar trade. So, but I love that. I think I really do see lock sport blending in with locksmithing as I see more lock sporters becoming locksmiths and saying, oh yeah, I used to do that too. So
I can say probably with the amount of confidence, and this was brought up earlier, as far as I can tell, this may be one of the largest and most diverse competitions in North America right now. If all 50 people show up, or even close to that shows up, I know people have regional stuff, things like that. DEF CON and then Tool. I'm not sure what the Tool Lock Picking Village looks like, but this is a sponsored event. We have a large majority of the vendors that are in this industry on both sides of it, Sparrows, Southern, all the different vendors will be the TLA for people who are going to be there. This may be the first of many, many, many more just like it. So it'd be really nice to be able to say, hey, we're at the ground level. We're working with the best of the best. We're working with the lock sport community. We're working with the locksmith community. We have great ambassadors from both sides. I think it's going to be really, really big.
Breakdancing got featured in 2024, so let's go for 2028 in the Olympics.
Let's do it. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think this might be a good place to conclude our podcast. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody check out Picking Hippie. He's a hippie that lock picks on YouTube.
I can get the camera right there. It is.
Yeah, no, it's always hard. Sandman, he's a lock sport enthusiast and a general badass combat veteran, all sorts of shit. So pay him respect and visit his channel, subscribe. We got Eric, who's a part of my team and his own with Locksmith Academy and what is it, FXBG?
Yeah, it's shorthand for Fredericksburg.
Yeah, Fredericksburg Keys. I can never say that city name. I always want to say like Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
Fredericksburg. And then we got this fucking guy right here next to me. This fucking guy. Who is this fucking guy?
Mr. Lockjaw.
Oh, we also got just let you guys know, we're gonna have some prototypes in Texas for some new products coming up. So it'd be really nice to get you guys.
Oh yeah.
So
I got some stuff to bring in too.
We're gonna have some swag down there. We're gonna have all kinds of fun stuff. Wife and the kid will be there. It'll be really fun. This will be our first official booth. So we get to try out a lot of cool, fun ideas. And I'm really stoked. We're like, what, 27 days away now? Fuck, I mean,
Oh,
what do you think?
the hospitality room that the TLA is putting on, apparently they had complaints about the amount of liquor last year, so they went wild, and they're apparently bringing 72 bottles of whiskey alone. So they're going to have what they call a high-end whiskey tasting room, which is going to be pretty interesting. I'm excited. I'm not a drinker, but maybe I will be. I don't know. We'll see.
I want to see drunk Jareth Garza. I don't think the world's ready for that.
No. I don't have bail money, so
I'm gonna do a shameless plug real quick. If the first 10 people that can find me whenever I'm down there and running around, I got some goodie bags from Southern Specialties. They hooked me up with 10 little care packages.
Well,
so
hey, hold them up.
Yeah, let's see it.
So
the first
you've
10
got
people
you've got
that
their
find
sticker,
you,
you've got my sticker, and let's see. I'll give you guys a little rundown. I've got one of their covert sets.
Oh, that's cool.
One of the little pocket folders. Let's see.
I'm gonna meet your ass at the door.
No shit.
I got some jigglers. I've got inside of there. They've got a set of micro jigglers as well.
Awesome.
That's what they used to call Jareth in high school, the micro.
Yeah,
jiggler.
Micro Jiggler was my prison nickname.
All right, hey, Jareth, you mentioned that you're going to kick somebody's ass if they bring combs, so don't come after me too hard. But they also include their micro combs.
Mm-hmm.
Double-sided jiggler.
I find it
their
ironic
Longhorn
that the bald guy's bringing combs.
Longhorn set. Like, this is just stuff that's going to be inside those goodie bags, and then of course 2 of my stickers are going to be in there as well. So
I like your logo. I think your logo is pretty cool.
Thanks, man.
Pretty far.
Where can people find out more about you? I know you're on Instagram, but where else can people find you at?
Yeah, so Picking Hippie on Instagram and YouTube. I'm on Discord. It's just what is it? LCK Picking Hippie on Discord, and whenever I created Reddit, it gave me a random ass name, and I think it's like Old Care 11 something. I don't even remember, but I've got a link tree on my Instagram and on my YouTube, so you guys can find all my stuff on there.
For all the folks at home, we are going to be live streaming the event also. So if you cannot get out to us, we have a media team that's going to be doing commentary. We'd really love to talk to the people that just competed also. So definitely come over to the booths. Jareth and I will be right next to each other. And then the competition will be right next to us. So you can definitely get a lot of us that entire day. Come over, talk to us, interview, let us know how it went for you. We want to hear and all your feedback. The people in TV land want to hear about it. So it'll be really, really fun to hear from everyone.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to say, Sandman?
No, thank you so much for letting me be part of this. I honestly felt like I was breaking some rules sneaking into the last TLA, because I was like, I'm probably the only non-locksmith here, but I'm really glad you guys are so approachable and you guys are so inviting and so fun to work with. I love watching all of your YouTube channels. I love buying Lockjaw manufacturing gear. If you're watching this, go check out LockjawMfg and check out some cool shirts. Check out the best lock pick cases that are available on the market. That thing, the Book of Secrets, it's absolutely worth every penny, and it's one of the most affordable cases on the market, which is crazy.
It is badass.
I just gave one of those away in a recent lock picking competition, my last Locksport meetup. I love the penny mat that you guys have that glows in the dark. Everything you guys do is fantastic. I love hearing about the Locksmith Academy. I love talking to Lock Picking Hippie. We follow each other on social media, so this was awesome that you guys put this together. I'm really looking forward to
thank you so much.
I'm honestly not even like excited about the competition as much as I'm excited about just going to the convention and seeing everybody that I look up to. Like,
honestly, yeah, at late nights at the hotel, just hanging by the pool and just chilling is like it's you hear the craziest and best stories.
Oh yeah,
And
these old guys have some
honestly,
crazy.
you know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it
Thank
was
you
a
all.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
No problem.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, everybody have a good night, and until the next time, Auf Wiedersehen. We'll see
See
you
ya.
then.
Later.